WHB, Jason Anderson, Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels heading up until 2 o'clock. Coming up an hour from now, we will talk with Matt Lane, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. We will talk some Chiefs with him, getting ready for the Bills AFC Championship game, Arrowhead Invitational with the one-year hiatus, 7 straight years for the Chiefs. Many different ways to describe what this Sunday will be like, 5:30 as I was going to say kickoff, but we know kickoff isn't at 5:30. Whatever time kickoff is, when 5:30 starts and they do the whole, introduction, then they'll have the national anthem. So, 5:41 when kickoff is. Either way.
That's a good bet.
When is the actual somebody at Air, they have the full rundown of when the actual
but we don't know the right. We don't get that piece of paper.
That's true. Yes, I would go back and look before I made the bet.
No, we should just do it now.
No, I would just go back and look at the divisional round to see when it started, when the coverage started versus when the kickoff happened. From was it 3:30 on Saturday? Was when technically the game started. It was like 3:30 Saturday, but then when they got there, they did a little intro. Then they went to break. Then they came back and did some talking. Then they had the national anthem. then they do the coin toss and all of that. That was after 3:30 when they came on. So
I feel like the most accurate start times are baseball and the national championship for basketball. For some reason, basketball is like 8:06 or 8:36 every year.
Yeah, and baseball.
And they bake in the time for all that pregame stuff.
You're right. They count in baseball. They count up to 7:10. Everything, or they count backwards. All right, 7:10 is when we're starting, and everything's going to work backwards from that. In the NFL, they're like, we'll get there, start at 3:30, and we'll get a kickoff eventually. I mean, we don't need to be on. Everybody's going to be watching. Let's have a TV show here. Let's entertain the folks, huh? Let's have a musical intro that was done specifically for these teams. Let's really lean into this whole thing. All right, let's go. Let's get the national anthem. Typically don't get that on a regular Sunday or a Monday or a Thursday. We're going to lean into this whole thing, man. 913-912-4810 is the text line to be a part of the show. 913-912-4810 text line to join us if you want to weigh in on the different things we will be talking about. Again, Matt Lane comes up at 11 o'clock. We'll hear from the Kansas City Chiefs today. Another big day at the podium for everybody. It's AFC Championship game. So that means it's going to be Andy Reid again. It'll be all three coordinators. Typically Thursday is just coordinator day and Chris Jones. But they've added 3. So it's coordinator day, Chris Jones, but add in Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and Joe Thuney. So it's AFC Championship. Super Bowl will be even crazier if the Chiefs make it, but tomorrow will be another packed press conference as well, not just a Fast Friday with Andy Reid. So we've got the Kansas City Chiefs press conference and then Sports or Leisure coming up in the 1 o'clock hour, presented by Johnny's Tavern, 913-912-4810. Let's start off with some college basketball because we will be talking a good deal of football throughout the show. I am getting they already have one win. So I want to start with this, and then we'll move on to KU. There's a Mizzou 2023-2024 feeling to K-State as they go down to Baylor, and they're in the game, they're leading, they had a sizable lead late in the game. Plays aren't made. Baylor makes some plays. The next thing you know, you look up and you lose by 8. And you're like, damn, what happened, man? This team really felt like throughout the game they were going to be able to pull this one out. And, man, it was like every night last year for Mizzou. It was like, it's so close, so close, so close. Wow, they almost won that one. So, man, they were in the game. They just couldn't figure out how to finish. And that has been a theme so far for K-State, whether that be, free throws or three-pointers not being as proficient as you would like. If it's turnovers some nights, last night it wasn't turnovers. Yeah. Last night it was only shooting 9 free throws and only making 5 of them, going 9 of 24 from behind the arc. It's and I don't care, people look at the raw numbers of they got out-rebounded. Well, I mean, how many missed shots did they have versus how many missed shots did the other team have?
Always. So I think rebounds are one of the at times one of the more misleading.
The percentage is better. The defensive rebounding percentage, offensive rebounding percentage, that's the better way to view it. But they only forced 4 turnovers last night. And while K-State has some nice players, Coleman Hawkins, we know about, the money and everything, and he's more of an all-around player. He's not a guy – Coleman Hawkins is not a guy that's going to go out there and drop 30 to win the game, okay? He's not expected to do that. He shouldn't be expected to do that. Coleman Hawkins is a guy that you want to be an all-around player. This is obviously the most extreme example. The most extreme example I can give you. But there's a level of LeBron would be the most extreme example of just somebody that's out there playing basketball. If it's rebounding, if it's assists, whatever it is, if it's points one night that they need,
Nikola
he can
Jokic.
drop those. Jokic, but triple doubles.
Yeah.
Like the all-around game. Like Hawkins last night has 8 points. Like, he only had 8 points. Right. He had 8 rebounds and 7 assists.
9
rebounds. Yeah, 9 rebounds.
And I think, again, an important thing, 0 turnovers.
And 0 turnovers. Like, he was playing his game.
Yeah.
Right? Ball in his hands, swinging it. Offense wasn't as stagnant at times as we've seen. Like, there was good ball movement. There was penetrating and kicking and swinging and making Baylor work. Those were the things that you want to see from K-State. Shots weren't falling. Sometimes you come up with a great play for Jerome Tang and the shot doesn't fall. Those things happen. But the flip side of that is when you do have a pure NBA player and you need points, you've got a freshman in VJ Edgecombe that scores 30 last night.
Yeah.
And gets to the free throw line 3 more times himself than K-State did the entire night. So, you get bench points from Baylor, but really Edgecombe is just different.
Yeah.
Like, it's just there are different players that are on the floor, and he's a difference maker that's out there. So we'll see if K-State can find a way to right the ship. I know that Scott Drew, I don't even know what to think about Scott Drew going into the K-State locker room and giving him a pep talk after the game was over.
Weird.
It's odd. I mean, I know that him and Jerome Tang are really close, but if I'm a K-State player,
you feel like little brother at that point. You
right.
feel like
patting you on the head coming into that's what I was going to say. Like, it feels like Scott Drew comes into the locker room and pats you on the head, is like, "Oh, you guys did really this guy's a really good coach. You got to believe in this guy. You got a great coach." Like,
we do that on the court. We shake his hand on the court. He doesn't need to come into the locker room.
100%, man.
Yeah.
What if Andy just went into, like, if the Chiefs beat the Bills and they're like, "Hey, you guys are getting there. You guys are close there, sport."
Yeah.
Like,
see, I think I'm totally in agreement with that. The coaching makes it different than, like, say, the respect between players. In
player
2018,
does it fine, yeah.
Tom Brady went and found Patrick Mahomes after the AFC Championship game.
Cool.
After they had left the field, changed clothes, Tom Brady went and found Patrick and was like, "Hey, man, keep doing your thing. You're unbelievable, great player." And Patrick's, took that and was
as
like,
we know,
"Let me go."
Patrick, I don't know if even if it's Tom Brady, in that moment, he was probably even like, "Dude, you got my number. You can find my number."
Yeah,
but at the time,
it's like, holy bleep, this is my first year starting.
Pretty cool.
In the AFC Championship game. Like, he was devastated at the podium after that one. You could tell.
I think if it's anyone but Tom Brady.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. If if I don't know how CJ. I don't know. Would C.J. Stroud have reacted the same as Mahomes to Tom Brady if Mahomes walked in after the divisional round on Saturday? But, "Hey, C.J., you're so good, man. I just want to come over and dap you up and let you know how." They did it on the field.
Yeah,
like, they did that out on the field. Okay, so Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson out on the field when the game was over. Immediately, Josh Allen took a knee and turned right around and ran right to Lamar Jackson.
Yeah,
and they embraced and everything. So I think it's a little different when, players do that, sort of that mutual respect, or Tom Brady kind of like almost a passing of the torch to a degree of like, 100%. "Hey, I'm almost done, and good God, you are amazing."
Well, and Josh and Lamar makes sense too, because they understood for both of them, whoever lost that game, it
was rough.
It's going to be rough.
Because both of them knew whether they cared about it. Well, they did. They obviously care about it. You care about your legacy. Both of them knew in that game who lost would almost be viewed as a larger story than who won.
Yes.
The loser of that game was going to be more of the story of downgrading legacy than the winner was going to add to their legacy.
A playoff pariah almost.
Yeah, and we talked about last week, who does it mean more for? I said it meant more for Josh Allen, because if Josh Allen and the Bills lost that game, it would be 3 straight years. They would lose at home to the divisional round, and it would be Burrow, Mahomes, and Lamar. 3 straight years.
And we just differed on that one, because I said Lamar. You
right.
and I have gone, but yeah.
Yeah, but That's my particular reason. If
Yes,
somebody
100%.
says Lamar, like it might be 51-49. I'm not gonna sit here and argue
splitting hairs.
About that. But I just think reputationally and legacy wise, like if you lose 3 straight years at home in the divisional round to your peers and quarterbacks, even if you play well, like people are gonna ignore sometimes if you play well. So
you remember what Troy Aikman did in the playoffs?
I don't.
But
he
you remember,
does.
but you remember you have 3 rings.
Yeah,
right. Like there is. Dylan, what's that?
Dylan was showing a handoff to Emmitt Smith.
No, it's great. But my point is, right?
Yeah. Snap, handoff.
That was,
and I can't fault Troy either. I mean, I had Emmitt Smith. I'm handing it to him.
But
as
that
well.
is more or less my
Famer,
point, though, right?
Yeah.
Because no one remembers what he did, but everyone remembers that he has 3 rings.
And to Troy's credit, too, and in his defense, and I know we're having fun with this, in his defense, he took over a team that won like 1 game.
Yes.
And helped sort of solidify that as the quarterback, as sort of the stability to it. There was a degree of that. Like he wasn't. He's a Hall of Famer.
No,
but we're joking.
100%.
I know, we're joking about like what
I just used him because he has 3.
Yeah, like Big Ben, with the Steelers. Like remember what Big Ben did in the Super Bowls? Yes, found Hines Ward or Santonio Holmes. I almost said Sterling Holmes. He did not find.
I would
Sterling
not
Holmes.
have caught that
No,
ball.
You would not have caught that.
I would not have caught that ball.
One,
you know
it would
what?
have been way over your head.
You know what?
and you wouldn't have got 2 feet down.
Credit to me for being humble and saying that. Credit to me for being humble and saying I would not have caught that ball.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah,
credit to me.
I don't know, like in a candid moment, like say like the plane ride home last night, what K-State players, if they're in the plane going, man, thanks Scott Drew. We're ready to go now. Like, let's go. Let's take on West Virginia on Saturday. Now that Scott Drew came and patted us on the head and said, hey, you guys are really good.
The attention level in the locker room when he walked in went from 100 to 0. If I was in there, sorry, I don't really care what Scott, because Scott Drew can't take my scholarship right now.
But also, I don't play for you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, and I know you're friends with Jerome, but he ain't at Baylor anymore. He's at Kansas State.
A few years away from Baylor now.
And I'm not saying that's by the way, I'm not saying it's a Jerome. I'm not criticizing Jerome Tang for opening up the door because I don't know if you're a coach. Because I think Scott Drew's done it with like Bill Self before a while ago, and it was I don't know if it was something like
maybe
like
it's
that,
just his thing. But
yeah, Scott Drew's thing. But Jerome Tang and Scott are close. So would you be like, nah, Scott, you can't come in here and talk to my team after it's over? I think that's more of a Scott Drew kind of, hey, let me talk to your team because I got this, Jerome. I got this, little buddy. Okay, I know that you've been my assistant coach for a while. We won a national championship together. Your team's struggling. Let me help you.
Yeah.
I got you, Jerome. That to me is more of a Scott Drew overstepping, thinking, I need to go in and help Jerome Tang here.
Well, and if Jerome and him are close, you should have the ability of your Jerome to say,
I agree.
not right now.
I agree. Yeah, man. I mean, look, I got this. All right, I got this. Okay, we're good.
He'll understand.
All right, that's fine. I mean, I'm just going to go over here, and I guess I'll talk to my team, whatever. I mean, right now, VJ's just talking to my team, which is fine. He dropped 30 tonight. What am I going to say to him? But there is a feel of last year where it's like, can they get over the hump? Can they win these games?
Very Mizzou-esque last year.
I was wanting them to pull it out, and it did not happen. And it's just one of those things where sometimes you're just outmanned, and K-State's been that a number of times this year. K-State got, or KU, go ahead real quick before we switch subjects.
Yeah, before we move to KU, how worried are you about Jerome and, I don't want to say getting fired, but Dennis Gates last year, really, I mean, everyone said Dennis Gates is not getting fired going into last year. There's no even talk about it. And then what happened? You don't win a single conference game. We all thought Dennis Gates was a pretty good coach, good recruiter. Yeah. But when something like that happens, your mindset gets changed. And we're seeing this year with Mizzou, so far at least, it was a good decision to stick by Dennis and not even bring up those questions. Kind of the same thing with Jerome. It was, oh my gosh, we're so glad he didn't leave. Look at all this, and this year's going to be great. You're having that Mizzou-esque year. You weren't expecting to have these conversations, but at some point when you don't win any of these games, you look at the roster, you look at who's going to be here next year, who's the big boost next year that's making you better. Yeah. Do you have those questions?
Correct me if I'm wrong, though. This is the second thing he's done that's kind of, what are you doing this year, right?
It was the post game about these guys are stressed and the money adds on to it. Yeah, but again,
Dennis Gates wasn't doing that last year though.
I don't disagree.
He was not putting his foot in his mouth or doing stuff like this, and that's probably what it might have been what said, okay, we'll give you one more chance.
Yeah, and again, I don't I don't want to put this on Jerome Tang. Like, I feel this is more of the situation sort of sucks because you lose the game anyway, so you're pretty upset and mad. Unless Jerome Tang
He put the team together.
Unless Jerome Tang asked Scott Drew to come talk to my team.
No. I get it. I'm not even.
No, I'm talking about what Dylan's saying. This one particular thing where it's the post game press conference, and then this. Like, if he said, "Hey, Scott, come talk to my team. Let them know I'm a good coach. Let them know that I'm the guy to lead them." I don't know that Jerome Tang would do that. I don't know the man outside of interviewing him, watching him coach, right? And I don't know his relationship with Scott Drew. I can't imagine he would do that. So I put this in a different category. I put this in maybe the category of Jerome Tang has so much respect for Scott Drew that he felt like, all right, Scott's that's fine. Yep. You can talk to my team and
swing it.
Hey, maybe I think this is, to me, it's more, if he wasn't asked, it's more Scott Drew. Like, hey, tend to your own. All right, you got yours. Your team ain't exactly killing it right now. Right, so you guys are 3-3 in conference before that game. Like, you guys ain't undefeated, so it ain't like we're talking about the number one team in America and the coach that's it ain't Dan Hurley, back-to-back national championship coach, coming in and talking to the team and telling them, you guys are freaking good, man. You need to believe how good you are. You guys took us to the limit like nobody has done this year. You need to believe it. The Raul Ibanez, when he was traded to the Royals in 2014, and looking at the players and going, why don't you guys believe what everybody outside of the organization believes? You understand what the other teams, what we thought about you guys of how good you were and why you guys weren't winning for some reason? Do you guys not believe how good you are? Like, Raul Ibanez giving this players-only meeting.
When he player.
Right, absolutely, players-only meeting, bringing that to the Royals of like, do you not know how good you are? Again, that's a player, well-respected, a little bit different than Terry Francona walking over and going, boy, you bunch of ball players are, boy, I tell you what, man, you guys are just scrappy as hell. We cannot stand playing you guys.
Where's Jerome Tang's pride? Like, the part of it is the best-case scenario of this outcome or this situation, the best-case outcome is another team's coach gave your team the motivating speech to turn their season around. Not you.
That's a great point.
Another coach.
That's a good point.
So why in what world are you like, come on in and my message ain't working. Yeah. Can yours?
Great call.
I think what Dennis Gates and Mizzou is doing is helpful to Jerome Tang, because if Jerome Tang has a bottoming out year, you say, well, you don't want to fire him now because these things in the NIL can turn around pretty quickly. I mean,
you made an elite. You made an elite.
If Missouri fired Dennis Gates, where would they be right now?
It's like Josh Allen and big quarterbacks that can't throw. It's like, oh, well, look what they did with Josh Allen, Anthony Richardson.
Well, and I said the same thing though. It's with anything with Ohio State quarterbacks, right? With the knock. And I go, well,
Stroud.
And I go, Stroud. Everyone go, well, he's an Ohio State quarterback. I go, yeah, but if you said that with everyone, then you're going to miss out on the actual. You have to take that out of it.
Dude,
yes. Thank you.
To
Dylan,
me,
good call.
Tedford, and his quarterbacks. He can't develop quarterbacks. Achilles Smith, Kyle Bowler, who was after Kyle Bowler, I can't remember. So you better not draft Aaron Rodgers because Tedford cannot develop NFL quarterbacks. We've been down this road. He's not going to do it. It was the Texas Tech of it, but it was specifically this coach has great numbers in college, and they look like an NFL quarterback. But we're like 0 for 3 with Tedford QBs. Aaron Rodgers, the next in line. Maybe it wasn't Tedford. Maybe it was he hadn't had an Aaron Rodgers. Maybe he turned Achilles Smith into the maximum Achilles Smith. He got the maximum Kyle Bowler. Texas Tech did what they could with guys who weren't big-time quarterbacks, but you schemed around them, and then they got a big-time quarterback.
And look at the way they treated Cliff Kingsbury afterwards. He was a losing coach with the best quarterback to ever play the game, and he got an NFL coaching head without a single minute in the NFL.
Right,
as a coordinator.
So it's a little bit, to that degree as well. So, I don't know. It's going to become less of a conversation, quite frankly, because Mizzou, as the games went by, we just stopped talking about them last year. It was, KU, K-State, we were talking about.
I told you that's almost where I'm at with K-State. Yeah. It's frustrating to watch.
Yeah, even though we spent this entire first segment doing it, but that's where we are. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. I do want to talk about what KU accomplished last night and what could be the first step of changing things for KU, depending on what happens Saturday and next week. This is like you passed mile marker 1, and you'd like to see if there's a consistent run from mile marker 1 to 2 to 3. We'll get into that on the other side of the break. More Zone next. Action last night, slow start, down by 14 at one point, and they end up coming back winning by 13. No KJ Adams again. DeJuan Harris didn't necessarily have a good game. By necessarily, I mean he did not play well last night.
In any standards.
Yes. So you've got no KJ and DeJuan not playing well, and a TCU team that was ready to go and had KU on their court. And they needed guys to step up and play well. And Zeke's been doing it most of the year. We talked about what Shaq Moore has been doing defensively and wondering when they were going to get something from A.J. Storr that felt tangible, that felt like, can this be growth? And, you know, we talked about a couple of weeks, whenever they played at Iowa State. That was last week, right? That was a week ago that they played at Iowa State. And what I felt like was odd about the last 5 minutes when Iowa State was really pulling away and KU was kind of just barely hanging onto the rope, that A.J. Storr played like the last 4 or 5 minutes of the game in that environment when it's like, hey, this is a big game. And my theory at that point was Bill Self saying, we got to be able to score this year if we're going to win. So I got to figure out how A.J. Storr is going to fit into this team. So I'm not just going to play him a minute or two and then he makes a mistake and take him out. This game's lost. This game's gone. We're not going to come back and win this one. It happens in the Big 12. This ain't going to keep us from winning a national title by losing at Iowa State and Ames. But we need to figure out what's going on and how we get more out of A.J. Storr. He played 8 minutes, had 7 points against K-State, and then played, I don't know, was it his season high in minutes last night? Maybe early in the year he played some, but I think last night was A.J. Storr's season high with 22 minutes played. Yeah, 28 minutes played early in the year. Sorry. He had a couple of games. North Carolina, he played 28 minutes. Good God, thinking about that. They beat North Carolina, and A.J. Storr played almost 30 minutes. You know, he had 13 points in that game too. But where he was then versus the middle of this run to now, they've needed more from A.J. Storr. He plays 22 minutes last night, 12 points, 6 rebounds, 3 steals in the game. And so they got points from him. They got energy from him. They got defense from him. And, of course, Shaq Moore, who we were talking about as a defensive presence.
3-and-D, baby.
Literally like back-to-back possessions.
Yeah.
Like 12 seconds with Shaq Moore. 12 seconds, 5 points. You know, the steal and the dunk, or the 3 in transition and the steal and the dunk. And it was like, all right, 3-and-D. That was literally the 3 and then D that you had from Shaq Moore. And that was when KU was making their run, when they were down 1 and they went on, the 12-0 run in the second half. And Moore was a part of that, hitting the 3. Coit, who has really been struggling, hit his 3 at that time. And so they needed different guys to step up, and it was Moore and it was Storr and it was Floor E. Badunga played a really good game as well.
Yeah, by the way, Badunga
blocks.
might make more sense in that role than KJ Adams.
We talked about that, man. Is the offense as a team better if when KJ's off the floor? It's just interesting because, like, how do the pieces fit? Because KJ is one of the best defenders in America. Yes. I truly believe that. He can guard 1 through 5. He is a tough dude. He should be rebounding at a higher clip than he is. I don't know what it is as to why that's not happening.
If he just boxes out so well that he allows someone else to grab it.
Maybe that's the case. I don't know that my eyes show that.
I
feel like that's being generous.
Yeah.
Like, he's the most amazing guy. He boxes his guys out into the second row. And so there's no way he can grab the rebound.
My concern for Kansas going forward, if there is one,
is Hunter Dickinson not letting go of the basketball.
Which I honestly thought, you know what's funny about that was, as much as I've had some issues with Hunter and how he does a little bit of that Grayson Allen-esque at times, you know.
Easy not to like. It's
easy not to like him when he plays, but I didn't have a massive issue with that one because that guy, TCU guys were like,
I didn't know how long it was going to go.
It went a long time. Bill was so mad. He called it asinine. He goes, it's asinine.
But it was so asinine that it was hilarious.
It was very funny, but also there's like 3 TCU guys grabbing it. I'm like, I get it. You're trying to not get punked, so you're sitting here like, you're not going to punk me.
Neither one would let go. The officials are over there, and they're both holding on.
It lasted for...
It was like the last PS5 2 years ago at
Yes.
Black Friday.
By the way, Hunter Dickinson was the last one with the ball. He was. So he wasn't going to get punked. I actually didn't find it. I think it's annoying. I get it. But also, I understand Hunter Dickinson's aspect of it where you have three guys trying to rip it, and you're
That's
like,
also
no.
who he is.
Yes.
I mean, it's just,
But
you
you're
know
trying to be the lawman. So I
Yes.
get it. But if I had some
Trying
concerns.
to be Mike DePasquale. That's weird. That's right. Hunter's got this.
But if I had some concerns with KU going forward, it is turnover still. 17 turnovers. I know DeJuan had 5, but Zeke had 4. AJ Storr had 3. You got to cut down on those turnovers, man. It's just too much for a team that doesn't get to the free throw line and isn't a great three-point shooting team.
Yeah.
Right? We're talking about how, they hit some shots in this game. They still shot 35% from 3. It wasn't like it was some absurd clip. They were 6 of 17. You were 8 of 10 from the free throw line, and you had 17 turnovers. You can beat the TCUs like that. You're too talented to lose to the TCUs like that. It's the Iowa States that I have the question marks for.
At least with the 6 of 17, it wasn't where you're saying, why is that guy taking it? Like, they weren't 6 of 17.
They weren't jacking them up.
With DeJuan taking 7 of them, right? It wasn't like, why are you doing that? Like, Ryland was 1 of 5.
Yeah.
I mean, if I'm KU, I'm okay with Griffin taking 5
You live
threes.
with that. Storr
if he's
0 for
open,
2.
take it. He's not going to go 1 for 5 very often in a game.
DeJuan 0 for 2. I think you like him taking at least 2 threes a game.
If he was open both times he took the shot. They didn't go. Those things happened. He didn't play well last night.
He's always open.
That's for a reason.
Yeah.
And when he's knocking him down, then it changes a lot of the dynamic. But, I mean,
he shot 38% from 3 last year and 40% the year prior. This year he's just in his head. I think 31%. But I do find it a little interesting that everyone's like, DeJuan's a horrible 3-point shooter. I'm like,
I agree.
He's worked hard on this.
Yeah.
38% is a pretty good clip for a college point guard.
And when a dude's wide open, it doesn't matter if he's good or not. At that level,
Yeah,
they're
you're-
usually making it.
Yeah, that's 38% open. That's not 38% covered, but still, that's not a horrendous clip.
and to the point of the percentages, like, again, Ryland Griffin 1 for 5. If he was 2 for 5, that means KU shoots 42% from 3 last night. Like, if he makes one more, if it's 7 of 17,
It's a
like
big difference.
it
I know.
changes
It's
a lot.
small
Just
numbers.
one, but again, but that's what
Turnovers to me and free throw shooting are the two things that I have the biggest questions about KU against good teams with.
Yeah.
That's my main takeaway. Again, they don't drive enough, or at least get fouled enough. They're not aggressive enough. And then again, the turnovers. I've talked about it perpetually on this show. I just think at some point, and you saw it against Iowa State, when that happens against good teams, you lose. You can get away with it versus TCU, but even the way Missouri played in that game, right? When Mizzou played Kansas, you had that many turnovers, you're not going to win, even if you might be, quote-unquote, more talented. And with these slow starts, we've seen this a few times now this year, the slow starts. I don't know what it is. If they're not ready, if they go in going, you know what, we're going to wax this team. We're going to beat TCU. We're going to beat Mizzou. Doesn't matter. They eventually do beat TCU, but that can come back to bite you.
the mile marker that I was talking about as we went to break. Mile marker 1, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4, and what happens then? This, to me, was a great first step for AJ Storr.
Yes.
Does it mean that it's going to be something that can be relied upon? I don't know, but that's where this weekend against Houston comes in, because Houston is a damn good team. If you can get consistent play from AJ Storr, if you can get consistent play from AJ Storr against Central Florida on Tuesday, that would be 3 games in a row. Can you do it 4 games in a row against Baylor? And then that would set up the rematch at Allen Fieldhouse against Iowa State. Like, what happens these next 2? It's a good first step. But if he goes back to being a guy that, plays 5 minutes because he's lost and he's 1 of 5 and he's forcing shots and taking bad shots instead of just letting the game come to him, because I think he's trying to figure out, too, from going to a guy who was a volume scorer at Wisconsin. Like, he averages 17 points per game on 15 shots. Okay, well, you're not getting 15 shots. So where do your points come from?
I did say good sixth man. He's a great sixth man because if you like Shaq Moore there for the defense and the kind of 3-and-D aspect of it, a guy who doesn't need to create his shot at all. But then you need some offense when you take some guys off the floor. Maybe you take Zeke Mayo off. Maybe you leave Shaq Moore out there because of the defense. I think AJ Storr could be one of the best sixth man in the country. It's can he accept that role? Some guys like Lou Williams, J.R. Smith, Jordan Clarkson, right? Like some guys just fit that sixth-man role where you're like, as a starter, you're like, stop shooting the ball. But when you take out some of the starters, some of the offense out, and you're like, let's surround him with defense only, the bench guys, I think Storr can have a great role that way.
He's less efficient this year than he was last year as a volume scorer. Again, he averaged 16 points on almost 13 and a half shots per game. So, I mean, it's almost a point per shot. This year, he's averaging a point per shot. I mean, 7 points and 6.6 shots per game. So the efficiency has gone down. But again, that's where I wonder a guy who has been more of a volume scorer, getting a lot of shots and getting your points versus you don't have those shots now. Where do you find your game?
Yeah.
And you can't be inefficient as a shooter on KU and get more shots just to get your points.
Works at Wisconsin. Won't work at Kansas.
Yeah. And maybe getting the free throw line a little bit more. That would the rebound more. More steals, right? Doing those things get you more playing time, which can get you more shots. Okay? You're rebounding, you're getting steals, you get more minutes, game has more opportunity to come to you, you get more shots in the game. We'll take a timeout, come back, and continue rolling. We'll hear from Matt Lane coming up at 11 o'clock. We'll get into at some point either today or tomorrow, because I do want to weigh in on which player we predict or think would be the bigger impact against the Bills to have a big impact with the players that did not play earlier this year, if that makes sense. So we'll get into that at some point. And I went and looked at Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco, and it's one thing just to go like, well, yeah, but since Pacheco has returned, it ain't exactly like Kareem Hunt has been all that efficient. You know, they've kind of been the same. Okay, well, I wanted to break that down and add some context versus, well, look at Kareem Hunt's averaging the same yards per carry. Yes, as the guy that gets the 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1 and 1st and goal at the 1 and 1st and goal at the 2, he's probably going to average fewer yards per carry if you get the same amount, and Pacheco's getting the 1st and 10s and Kareem's getting the 3rd and 1s and 4th and 1s and 1st and goals. So I went and tried to break it down from that standpoint of 1st and 10, what are they averaging? You know, 2nd and long, what are they averaging? Where, you know, you've got more of an opportunity versus 3rd and short, 4th and short, and goal to go. What are they doing there? So we'll talk about that as well. We'll continue rolling along More Zone right after this. Text says, with that Iowa State game, it would be mile marker 5th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th.
Not 2, not 3, not 4.
Text says, so is there some history there of Coach Tang either giving his speech to another locker room after a game and now him allowing someone that he trusts to come in and give his team a pep talk? I don't know. I'm not sure. It's a good question. If that's the case, and maybe it's a common practice that's there. I don't know. I wouldn't be a fan of it at all. I wouldn't. We talked about it that Scott Drew coming into the locker room last night to give the K-State Wildcats a pep talk and get them on track and let them know that you guys are good and Jerome Tang's a really good coach and he's the guy to lead you and
don't rah me when you're 7-11.
Yeah, after beating them by 7, and it's like, yeah, you guys are good, man. Just believe in. Take it from me, a coach that's really good. That I think this coach is really good. If you don't believe your own coach, take it from me. All right. If you don't believe this guy, because clearly you don't. I'm telling you, this is the guy. It's just.
If you don't think Jason's good, let me tell you, I think Jason's good.
Wait a minute. Does that make you Scott Drew? I'm Jerome Tang here.
I have too good a hair to be Scott
Isn't it
Drew.
amazing what you can do with the zone when you do it out of love and not hate? It's amazing.
Speaking of zone, Mizzou's zone defense has actually been fairly impressive.
Good for them.
I hate the fact they ran that against Princeton in the, but at least it
Still,
looks better
still
now.
on that one.
Yes, I'm still mad at that one. Okay, I'm still
People don't
angry.
forget.
People don't forget.
People don't forget.
It was in 5th grade. So round of 32. It was 2 years ago. People don't forget. Have the Chiefs won 2 Super Bowls since then, or just the one? I'm not sure.
That'd be 3.
Well, that was 2023, right? Yeah, that was the
I was
2023
so
tournament.
angry. I've never been
so
angry in my life.
They've only won 1 Super Bowl since then.
I don't get angry
Okay,
often, so that was
sorry.
hard for me.
They've only won 1 Super Bowl since then. Sorry. Chiefs have won 5 playoff games since that game. Okay, let it go. All right, let it go, man. 913-912-4810. Now, excuse me. The refs have helped the Chiefs win 5 playoff games. Sorry, I just want to be more accurate of what we're actually talking about here. And we will talk with Matt Lane coming up in the 11 o'clock hour. The awards for the NFL, the finalists have been announced for the NFL honorees. Andy Reid's finalist for Coach of the Year.
Really?
Kind of surprised that he showed up as a finalist for Coach of the Year. Now, there are
Nice.
5 of them, so it's not like it's top 3, like the MVP in baseball. This is, I don't know, no particular order or whatever, but it's Sean Payton, Dan Campbell, Kevin O'Connell, Dan Quinn, and Andy Reid are the Coach of the Year finalists. This is where
And no, I don't vote on the Coach of the Year for people wondering why Sean Payton.
why Sean Payton's there. Yes.
Yeah, I thought you did.
I thought maybe that was you.
You put all your votes
I think
for
he's
Sean.
I think he's deserving. They got in the playoffs with a rookie quarterback in Bo Nix that everybody joked about him.
Was
and
Harbaugh
they're in-
on it though?
And they're in cap hell. No Harbaugh. No Harbaugh there.
Yeah, but that's not a rookie quarterback.
That's true.
And they weren't in cap hell like the Broncos
Also
are trying to dig out of. But the assistant coach of the year, 5 candidates, no Spags. KC Laboratory Podcast. News out of Dallas that we forgot to present in the previous hour because there is a local flair to it. And that is the Dallas Cowboys are zeroing in on Brian Schottenheimer to be their head coach and expected to finalize that contract by tomorrow. So Brian Schottenheimer, Blue Valley in the house, state championship winning quarterback. Now maybe the Dallas Cowboys head coach. How about that? Right here in our own backyard, we, by tomorrow, would have, and correct me if I'm missing somebody, from high school football around here, Dan Lanning at Oregon and Brian Schottenheimer with the Dallas Cowboys as head coaches. That's pretty legit, man. That's awesome. And one from each side of the state, too, to, give a little love on both sides. Let's bring in Matt Lane, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. Matt, what is up, brother? How are you, sir?
I'm doing pretty good. By this time tomorrow, I'm actually going to have some boots on the ground in Dallas. I'm going to have to get to the bottom of this Cowboys head coaching hiring thing going on. I'm heading down there with KCSN to cover the Shrine Bowl, so we'll have to poke around, see what we can dig up here about the local guy coming down there to coach.
Hell yes. Yeah, please do that. I was going to ask at the end, but I want to start with this then, just because it's on the mind. We typically ask you for some players that you might be looking for or wanting to see in person that you've seen on film at the bowl game and bowl practices and all of that stuff. So we'll just start with that here before we get into the Chiefs and Texans and knock that out of the park. Therefore, we can end with predictions and everything. So are there players or anything that you're looking at that maybe Chiefs fans, when they're watching the actual bowl game, that you have your eye on and want to get a more up-close and personal glimpse of these guys?
Yeah, I think on the Shrine Bowl, heading down there, going to get to watch the practices and everything, I think the kind of players that I'm most excited to look at are going to be two defensive tackles, C.J. West from Indiana and then Jordan Phillips from Maryland. Just two bigger defensive tackles with these Big Ten schools that maybe aren't your typical powerhouses, but I think both guys very big, explosive for their size, would be a perfect fit kind of next to Chris Jones. So, with the Shrine Bowl, they maybe don't always have the same type of guys that you see from the Senior Bowl or anything. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just excited to see those two guys who I think really are going to get a good chance to play at the NFL. And then selfishly, I'm a big fan of Jadon Blue, the running back out of Texas, who was always kind of their third down back, but he continued to make splash plays throughout the whole season in the playoffs. So just looking for somebody in that like Jerick McKinnon type role that we always see the Chiefs utilize. So those are kind of the three guys I think at the top of my list right now.
Yeah, I mean, you and I have talked about for a couple of years now of the Chiefs finding that guy that's got that quick burst or a Jerick McKinnon type role on this team. I really don't care who it is that they draft as long as, he's effective and can, be a quicker starter on some of those screen passes that are out there. So on the defensive tackles there, with the Shrine Bowl as opposed to Senior Bowl or, Combine and things like that, people look at the bigger names, the first round, second rounders, but like we're watching this Chiefs team and they're playing in, seventh straight AFC Championship game. And there's a lot of things that went into that. But one of the reasons why they're going for 3 straight Super Bowls is because of that 2022 draft where it wasn't just Karlaftis and McDuffie. It was also Cook, less Sky Moore, but Leo Chanel and Watson and Williams to a degree, but certainly Williams as along the way, not necessarily what he's done as of late, but Nazi and Pacheco and those guys that were late round picks to help out. Trey Smith, who was a 6th rounder. Like we see this team littered with guys in the middle of the draft and later. Is that typically when you're down at the Shrine Bowl? That's kind of what you're getting is a number of these guys. Certainly they can make a name for themselves and move up the draft boards, but a guy like a C.J. West or a Jordan Phillips more late day 2, day 3, or is that off the mark with those guys?
Yeah, so with the Shrine Bowl and like in anything like that, you were just kind of when we get to go down there, we're all very aware of the big name players in college football. Everybody's talking about them for a long time. So when we get to go down there and stuff like this, it's finding guys that I don't want to say are underrated, but maybe a little bit less talked about. And given where we are at down there, we get to sit down and talk to these players and listen about their stories and just kind of like how they approach the game. So it just gives you a nice, fun idea of who they are. And then from like the NFL perspective, you're mostly looking probably at guys that you're getting more on day 2, day 3 that are going to round out your depth chart, that are going to come in and play certain roles. Guys certainly hit, right? Like the Chiefs, pulled out Isaiah Pacheco from the Shrine Bowl.
That's right.
We're hoping.
Was Watson in the Shrine Bowl?
He was not. No,
Okay.
he was a Senior Bowl guy.
Senior Bowl,
he's actually
okay.
got a handful of Shrine guys. Pacheco. They did draft DeAndre Coburn, DJ Thompson, Hunter Norzad, Carson Steele was an undrafted free agent. Like, they've been pulling guys from the Shrine every year, so that's been really cool for us. But you're looking for guys like that are kind of rounding out, your team, filling in these certain holes. Some guys are going to overshoot expectations, and every year there's a couple guys from, whether it's the Shrine, the Hula Bowl, or even the Senior Bowl that kind of start to climb up draft boards or make a mark. So we will see where these guys end up. That's why I'm excited to see like West or Phillips, because I think those are the two guys, if you were to pick, that have a chance, I think, to really rise up and get maybe not top 50, but, start to at least get their name near that range of the draft and kind of become a guy that you would expect to start right away. Those are always the guys you're going to be a little bit more excited for.
And the Chiefs are going to have to get back again to start hitting on a number of draft picks with the money that they're probably going to have to pay to McDuffie and probably Karlaftis, and we'll see if they pay Trey Smith or not. So, we'll find out. And of course, you can find players in different areas. The Rams, we talk about the bleep those picks, right? Talking about we don't need first round draft picks. Well, they got one in Jared, Verse, and they certainly hit on it. But Byron Young was a second rounder, and Puka was a fifth rounder, and Kyron Williams was a fifth rounder, and Kobe Durant was a fourth rounder, and Ernest Jones was a third rounder. Bobby Brown was a second or a fourth rounder. So, it's like, well, they haven't had these first round draft picks, right? But they're finding guys later, like we've credited the Chiefs being able to do over the years. So the Chiefs need to get back to doing that as well. And Shrine Bowl, Senior Bowl, Hawaii Bowl, all that stuff. All right. So in the meantime, currently they are heading to their 7th straight AFC Championship game. Matt,
little thing.
that whole thing, there are 28 other teams that can talk about drafts and things like that. But I am fascinated. I love, following your guys' work. If you don't follow these guys on Twitter during the Shrine Bowl and these different bowls, it's awesome to see what they're watching and getting an eye on, because you guys view it from a Chiefs lens for the most part, which is great. What's your takeaway from that game and the Texans and winning the game, eliminating all of the absurd conversation that has come out of it? The Chiefs actually winning the game. What did you take away? What did you see, and how'd they get it done?
So personally for me, as myself as a fan, not about the team, I tried to I don't want to say fake, but I tried to make myself really excited for the Chiefs-Texans game. And not that it wasn't a big game or anything, it didn't matter, but I definitely found myself throughout the game just kind of be like, yeah, this is the Chiefs. They are in control of this game. It's going to be a win, and I'm watching every single play in regards to what it's going to mean for the following week, the next matchup, whether that's the Ravens or the Bills. I tried really hard to be super, and once the game started, I'm clearly still a Chiefs fan, but leading up to it, I tried to make myself super excited and get really up for a big game, and I struggled to do so compared to this week, where it's been, from Monday morning, I've been amped for this upcoming game. So I do wonder, even if from the Chiefs players' perspective, I'm just a fan that kind of has that belief, I wonder from the Chiefs' perspective, it is a little hard to not treat a divisional round game against a depleted Texans team that is struggling as a serious, super serious, this team's trying to stop us from winning a Super Bowl. And I think that might have showed up on film, especially on the field in the first half, where I don't want to say the Chiefs were rusty or slow, but they just didn't seem to have the same level of intensity that I think the Texans did in the first half. And I think as the game went on, we saw that kind of shift, and we saw the Chiefs catch up to the game speed, the intensity the Texans were playing with. And once that happened, the Chiefs were comfortably in control. It wasn't a pretty game, but they were comfortably in control the whole time. I just don't know how much of it carries over to the next game. That Texans defense presents such a unique challenge to the Chiefs offense that I don't know how much that carries over to any of these next couple games.
Yeah, it's interesting because watching the first matchup, and I've pointed to the Chiefs' 2 best games on offense, and I think we've talked about this. The Chiefs' 2 best games on offense that Andy Reid discussed was Houston and Pittsburgh. And my theory behind that was the Chiefs said, okay, it's kind of playoff time. We win these next 2 games over 5 days, 4 days, whatever it was, then we will get the number 1 seed. All right, let's do this. It's focused. This is kind of like a playoff game. We've been working all year to get up to this point, and they go out there and they perform against the Texans. They perform against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Okay, well, then that logically would mean when you get into the playoffs, here we go, even amped up higher. And what I sort of was watching in the first quarter was, oh, wow, the Texans were playing as if there was no tomorrow, which, in a playoff game, there is no tomorrow if you lose. And there was an element of the Chiefs were like, we're good. We will figure this out. It is a marathon. It's not a sprint. The game is not going to be won in the first quarter because the Texans' defense and defensive line was all over the place in the first half. But as the game wore on, I do wonder, Matt, whether I think there's a little bit of rust in the first quarter. I think there's also the Texans changing some things up and playing really good football. But I wonder late third, after that long drive by the Texans, from that point forward, it was Chiefs offense and Chiefs defense sort of controlling the line of scrimmage. I do wonder at that point, did the 24 days off come into effect where the Texans have been playing, and then last week, the Chiefs with fresh legs, the last 18 minutes of the game, the fresh legs won out?
And that could play a big role as well too, because the Texans had an intensity about them in the first half that the Chiefs couldn't match. They were still, equally. They were very competitive. The teams were relatively even matched, but you could tell there was an intensity that the Texans were playing with. And as the game went on, I don't know if it necessarily shifted to the Chiefs being the more intense team, like physically dominating them, but they just seemed to be in control.
Yeah.
And maybe it was the Texans getting a little fatigued. You have that big adrenaline dump to start the game. You get to halftime, and you're still kind of losing. You still feel like you were hanging on by a thread against this team that's just kind of making everything work. So that could be a part of it. The Chiefs having a fresher legs because of all the rest could be part of it. I just think watching it, the Texans came out and played, I think, had a good game plan. They got away from the man coverage that the Chiefs destroyed them with in the first game defensively. They just played quarters coverage and said, hey, we don't think that you are going to be able to challenge our secondary. We don't think you're going to be able to hold up against our pass rush. And for the large part, they were right, except for Travis Kelce kind of did, the Travis Kelce thing.
Except
but
for the
they
goat.
were right. But they were generally right in their approach. But as the game went going, the Chiefs just adapted to what was going on. It became the Travis Kelce show. They get Kareem Hunt involved in the run game, and all of a sudden it feels like they're controlling everything. The Texans have that great drive out of halftime. Spags says, okay, here's a couple little adjustments that we're going to go. We've noticed some stuff you're doing, and now let's see if you can move the ball at all from here. And they really couldn't. So it was a game that the Chiefs felt like they were entirely in control of, even if the Texans, I think, were playing above board for the first, half of the game.
So as you're talking about that, like, and thinking back to the game and sort of a feel of intensity, and I know the opening kickoff and the crowd was in a frenzy and the Chiefs sideline was going crazy, and then the Texans defense went out there and just dominated the line of scrimmage on that opening drive. And then also the second drive before the roughing the passer call, which I wasn't a fan of, but it would have been back-to-back 3-and-outs and putting 3 points on the board. Chiefs ended up getting 3 points there. But looking back on it, like I wonder, Matt, in us watching these games and watching the Chiefs in their 19 games in the postseason with Patrick Mahomes, and especially since maybe that Cincinnati game when they've won, 8 consecutive playoff games, like there has to be an element of the Texans come out sky high, right? Sky high. And Andy Reid saying, don't peak too early. Don't peak too early, right? The Mitchell Schwartz and Chase Daniel argument that took place online where Chase Daniel was saying, Andy Reid says, don't peak too early. Don't peak too early across the season. And Mitchell Schwartz is like, no, he's talking about individual games, the day of the game. Don't peak too early. That the Chiefs with their experience, are they more of flatline isn't the right word because that's obviously dead, but they're more steady across the board as opposed to the heartbeat that's up and down when maybe the Texans is huge intensity. You can't hold that intensity for 4 quarters. So there's going to be a time where you come back to earth a little bit. I wonder if there's that where we go, man, how do the Chiefs just find a way to win all these games? Maybe they're just the team that from the first second to the 60th minute, that they're just simply along the way and they're not doing these ebbs and flows, highs and lows that other teams are doing in a particular matchup.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. And I think that's part of, you talk about team building culture is a thing that always comes around enough. And I think that the Chiefs are obviously a team that has a good culture around them, but there's also a winning culture. We've been here before. There's a confidence in the building from top to bottom to even new players, like rookies when they are in there. I know people that talked to the 2022 rookie class, like, hey, did you ever think you guys weren't going to win the Super Bowl? And they're like, no, we did. And that starts at the top. And so this team is just used to winning. They think they're going to win. And I do think that shows up in these moments where, you're right, there are big spikes and then these big lulls. Or if they get down, if they start out with a little bit of, what would be a lull for other teams, they just keep going. They just keep it steady. They keep going. They know things are going to turn. And everybody likes to make, Michael Jordan comparisons and stuff like that for Mahomes and things like that. And I just see the Chiefs as a whole. It's kind of like Tiger Woods in his prime. And you get to that Sunday and it's close and you're in his group and you're matched up with him. It's not that Tiger Woods necessarily plays above and beyond his capabilities. He's not always giving you you don't always get that A++ game from him. It's just everybody else around is up and down. They maybe come out with their B- game because they're a little nervous. They're trying too hard to press, and there he is just doing his thing, just doing Tiger Woods, not trying to get out of his lane, and there you look at the end of it, and he's beating you yet again. That's what it's like to play the Chiefs. You get so hyped to beat them, and maybe you do have some highs along the way, but they just keep steadily coming, and then at the end of the game, if you have enough dips or any dips in your performance, they're going to be right there with the chance to win the game, and guess what? They do it. So it's an interesting team to watch right now with the way things are going with how they've had these different roster constructions and everything going on, but yet they keep winning.
As you're talking about that, it makes me sort of think like we discussed Lamar Jackson and the turnovers that happened in that game, and back-to-back games in which they were eliminated from the playoffs these last 2 years, they were -3 in turnover differential. 4 of those were Lamar interceptions, right? The Lamar fumble and a Mark Andrews fumble. Or no, it was they were -3. There's just one Lamar interception, one Lamar fumble. So 3 Lamar interceptions and then 3 fumbles, one of those being Lamar, the other 2 being Andrews and then Zay Flowers at the goal line. So from that standpoint, like Lamar can make big plays, and he can also, turn it over and give it to the other team in the playoffs. What I'm thinking about is you're talking about sort of Mahomes and what he does. Like Mahomes may be the greatest or sort of, that Tom Brady mold in that he's a guy that doesn't put his team into harm's way in the playoff game. But then when time comes, he's got the ability and that knack to make a big play. Like there might be guys that can make a big play, but they turned it over a few times. Like Mahomes is a guy that's not turning it over in the playoffs, but he's also finding ways in the fourth quarter to make the big plays. Like that combination is incredibly rare, and why he's 16-3 in the postseason.
Yeah, it's been a shift. I mean, during the early Mahomes run here, and you can look at the first Super Bowl or the playoff run, losing to the Patriots before that, it definitely was like, hey, Mahomes needs to go win the game for us. He needs to go out, win the game, be spectacular, be elite, and that's how we're going to have our chance to win. And I think you've seen that be good and bad, and now at this point, it's not even that the team around him is necessarily better, although you think you could make an argument that it is. It's that the way that they play is don't give the other team a reason to beat you, right? The other team has to go out and beat you. I don't want to say it's passive or conservative. It's just we aren't going to lose the game. And then when it comes to time for the fourth quarter, maybe it wasn't a full game of Patrick Mahomes beating you, but that 3rd and 8 in the fourth quarter, he is there to beat you. That 4th and 2 that they need to go ahead and extend this game or get to overtime, he's going to beat you and be that guy rather than making him do it all game, maybe because he did get you in a little bit of the hole trying to make plays, which we had seen that happen in some Super Bowl runs or playoff runs before with him. So he's still the same guy. It's just I think the mentality of the team is entirely different. And, it's definitely we are going to not lose the game first. And then when it's time to win the game, we are going to be in position to do so rather than trying to win the game from the very first play in the opening quarter.
We are talking with KC Sports Network and KC Laboratory Podcast, Matt Lane and his dog. We are here on this Thursday. What's the dog's name? Come on.
That dog's name is Melly, and we just got home, and she is desperate to get out of her crate, but if I let her out, it's going to get even noisier. So I'm trying to hide away. All
right, we'll keep you just for a few more minutes. Is it Nelly or Melly?
It's Melly, but I would slip outside now because now that I know you guys.
No, you're good.
I'll go ahead.
No, it was kind of fun. No, it was kind of fun. I wanted to know the answer from what Melly was saying. Melly's like, I want to win. Matt, shut up. I've got an answer here. Let me talk. I watch the games with you every Sunday. Let me weigh in.
Right.
The offensive line, Andy Reid said, it held up well. And I think Mitchell Schwartz said this is Andy Reid speak for it was bad. So that was pretty good from Mitchell Schwartz. The offensive line, was it sufficient enough in your mind to then say we continue with Joe Thuney and Caliendo? Or was it exposed maybe another game with those guys and different ways to attack them? Then maybe you do at this point go to DJ Humphries and hope you get the higher ceiling.
A little bit of both. I definitely don't think it was good. I think that I'm glad that like somebody that has intimate relationships with Andy Reid and know how he talks and what that quote meant, because you see it and you don't know, is this Andy Reid with coach speak? Is this really what they think? But like Mitchell Schwartz coming out and saying, that's not a glowing review, and that matches the eye test because they weren't good.
Yes.
They weren't good. And I don't, Joe Tooney's done a great job stepping in at left tackle this year, but you saw it. You saw he's a guard playing offensive tackle. He was going up against a fantastic edge rusher in Will Anderson most of the game, and Anderson does have the unique ability. He is fast enough to run around Joe Tooney and bend the edge, which we saw give him trouble. He's also powerful enough that he can counter inside. And so you saw Joe Tooney get squished in the pocket a few too many times to be comfortable. So tough matchup. I don't think it was good. Caliendo, I think, also struggled, especially in the run game at left guard. So I watch it, and I'm like, I really think they should try something. Try. It doesn't have to work, but you can at least try something else. I just don't know if we're going to get it. Yeah. I think that they made their decision. They went up against the best defensive line they are going to see the rest of this playoff, and they got out of the game okay. It was good enough. Not good, but good enough. So I think they'd rather just run back with what they have. The only thing that gives me a slight bit of pause is every other team they're going to face or could possibly face in the playoffs, their better players are their interior rushers.
Yep.
So maybe it would make sense to get Joe Tooney back inside instead of on the edge. It's just I don't know if they want to go through that kind of change in the middle of a short playoff week rather than the 3 weeks they had off prior.
It's funny because that was going to be my next question of would it impact the fact that you've got Ed Oliver and DaQuan Jones, and then on the other side, if you play in the Super Bowl, you got some interior players that are pretty darn good, as opposed to Autry's fine. He's a good player. He's playing well, but it's Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter. Like, it's the edges to attack you.
Yeah.
And Rousseau's a fine player. Von Miller used to be amazing. He's a fine player still, but I worry about the game wrecker, Ed Oliver, right up the middle. What do you think of this Bills matchup, Matt? Matt Lane, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. How much do you think we'll see from the first matchup to this matchup? Do the Bills play as much man-to-man as opposed to the Texans playing almost all zone with the shell over the top and Kelsey ate them up? The Bills played almost entirely man-to-man the first go-around, and Kelsey had 2 catches, 8 yards or whatever. So what do you think we see in this matchup this go-around between Bills and Chiefs?
I don't think there's going to be a ton of carryover from the first matchup, not because both teams have changed since then, but also both teams were missing a fair amount of players that kind of, I think, impact how they're going to play. So I do think it'll look different. The Bills have become, like over the past couple seasons, and the Chiefs and the Bills kind of first kicked up this rivalry a few years back. The Bills were very much we're going to come out and we're going to run our game style, our game plan, and we're going to see if teams can beat us. And not many teams could. The Chiefs could. The last 2 years, I'd say they've become very game plan specific, kind of like the Chiefs are. We see them change their game plan from week to week, and that's how they jumped out to an early lead on the Ravens. They went with a downhill power run game at a team that's supposed to be the powerful bully team as the Ravens. They went right at them. And then we saw as the game went on, as the Ravens adjusted, they kind of slowed them down. But it was that initial game plan that got them the lead. I don't know what the Bills' plan of attack is going to be. I do think they'll have something specific for what they think the Chiefs will do, and it's probably going to be pretty good if you look at their history with Joe Brady now running the offense and what they've been able to do defensively. So it's going to be hard to tell. I do know at some point in time you're going to get that odd mirror defensive play, the 3-down lineman with Matt Milano spying Patrick Mahomes, and the entire goal is to just crush the pocket and make Mahomes scramble into the spy. That's been very effective versus the Chiefs over the years, from the Bengals, from the Bills.
Yep.
So the Chiefs have to have an answer for that on third down. If they don't, it might be a pretty long day. But besides that, I think that defense is just going to mix it up. I don't think they'll be Superman heavy, super zone heavy. I just think they are going to try to get that spy working on Mahomes and flushing him into it, because we have seen that be kind of the Achilles heel for this passing attack for many years now.
I hope they play a lot of man. I do, because I think this Chiefs wide receiver core is different than the first go around when they were playing man. And they missed that huge play to Xavier Worthy right at the start of I think that was start of the third quarter. Maybe I can't remember what it was, but Mahomes throws it a little bit better. It's a touchdown, but also Xavier Worthy has to catch it, and that could change things because they end up punting on that particular drive. So yeah, they played man and it got them, but it didn't get them. All right, two quick ones. Player that didn't play this first go around in the Bills that you think has the biggest impact. We'll limit it to 3: Watson, Omenihu, or Hollywood.
It's Watson pretty easily for me on this
Okay.
one, because Najee Johnson and Shamari Conner, I think, combined for 15 targets, 12 catches given up, 200 yards between the two of them. It wasn't a great day for those guys. And while they're still going to play in this game, getting Watson back allows you to put him out wide on the boundary, which you feel good about whatever wide receiver matchup he has. You don't have to offer consistent additional help from your safeties against Matt Collins, Keon Coleman, Amari Cooper. He's fine on an island by himself. And that also allows you to move Trent McDuffie around and be a little bit more flexible with him, so you don't always have Shamari Conner trying to handle Khalil Shakir out of the slot or handle all the bunch and motion sets the Bills do. So I think Watson just kind of sets off a chain of effects that allows Spagnuolo to be more aggressive with his blitzes, not quite predetermine everything as much, and then just gives you a lot better matchups across the board. And hopefully pushes the Bills into being a one-dimensional team where it's mostly just the run game that you're worried about and not the passing game as well.
Yeah, Najee got picked on, so that's it's funny you're the first one that's picked Jalen Watson, but it's those are great points. That's where I think all three of them could have big impacts in this one. What's the final score, and maybe an idea of how the game goes along in your mind, and a final if you got one?
Yeah, I think it's going to be another close game between these two teams. Like I said, I think these are two of the better game plan specific teams. They will not entirely change who they are, but they will come out with stuff very specifically picked and chosen and prepared to attack their opponents, and they do it very well. So I think the first half it might be a little sluggish on both offensive sides as the defenses come out, probably have a few new wrinkles to show early on, and you have two teams that are very much into their scripts and doing what they want to do. And as the game goes on, the offenses find their footing. I do think the Chiefs come out on top. I like the way they match up against, the Bills like to go heavy personnel. Leo Chenal on the field is a good thing for the Chiefs. Mike Cannell on the field is a good thing for the Chiefs. I'm not really scared of the Bills' weapons going off against the Chiefs secondary, especially with Watson out there. So I think the Chiefs defense matches up a little better with the Bills offense and vice versa. So give me the Chiefs to win. Going back for that third straight Super Bowl, we're going to take it 25-21, so a close game, but not quite the field goal game that they've been lately.
All right, we'll see what happens. You know what? This is a bonus one for you. Outside of the Chiefs, better storyline. Bills' first ever Super Bowl, Jaden Daniels, a 4-win team, and then a rookie quarterback winning it, or something with the Eagles. I don't know.
I love that's everybody's thing is every other team has this awesome storyline, and then there's the Eagles. And then there's the Eagles. Which is crazy because Saquon Barkley might be the coolest player in the NFL right now too.
That's what Dylan's gone with
Saquon. My take is that Saquon becomes a minted Hall of Famer in an Eagles jersey the first year he's there, because what else does he have to do? He has a 2,000-yard rushing season. I'm pretty sure he was Rookie of the Year with the Giants. And the Eagles kind of put him over the top as a gold jacket guy.
And if the Eagles win, Saquon's probably a big part of that, so he may be Super Bowl MVP as well.
Oh, yeah, he is probably,
Yeah.
No,
that would be the Eagles one. So then outside of the Chiefs three-peat, it'd be Bills' first ever, finally getting over the hump. Jaden Daniels doing something we haven't seen, a 4-win team and then a rookie quarterback, or Saquon, a middle finger to the Giants while also being an HOF and getting a Super Bowl ring.
Out of the ones I would want, oh boy, I like Saquon, so I hope that for him. I think Jaden Daniels winning as a rookie, along with all the other moves Washington made, that everybody was kind of like, these are weird moves. This isn't going to work very well early on. This is all that team somehow coming together and winning the Super Bowl would be an absolutely phenomenal story. So I guess outside of the Chiefs, that would be really the best and most entertaining one to watch happen.
Matt Lane, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. Matt, you're the man. Appreciate the time, brother. Enjoy the football, and we'll catch up soon, man.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you, guys. Go Chiefs.
Absolutely. There's Matt Lane. He is on his way to Dallas. They are there for the Shrine Bowl. We like the getting some names to keep an eye on. So for Chiefs fans, he gave us 3 names that he's going to be keeping an eye on that, sort of fit with the Chiefs and people he'll be watching. C.J. West, 2 defensive tackles, C.J. West from Indiana and Jordan Phillips from Maryland. And then he and I have been on the same page for a couple of years now to get a Jerick McKinnon-type running back here to Kansas City. And he said he's looking forward to seeing up close and personal Jadon Blue from the Texas Longhorns at the Shrine Bowl. So those are the 3 names he said he really wants to see up close and personal that fit into the Chiefs. And by the way, if you're not following those guys on Twitter, do it, because while they're at these bowl games, they are sending out clips, and it's through the Chiefs' perspective of, here's how this guy fits. Here's what this guy can do. Here's somebody we're watching that is a Spags guy. This is a Joe Cullen guy. This is an Andy Heck guy. Boy, this is how they fit in there. Ain't too many people at the Shrine Bowl, Senior Bowl that are doing that specifically from the Chiefs. KC Sports Network, those guys doing that, so they are great follows at this time. All the time, but certainly at this time, because we're always worried about the draft and the roster construction, while the Chiefs continue to be one of the 2 or 4 teams remaining over the last 7 years in the playoffs at this point. We'll take a timeout, come back. More is on next. We got some press conferences coming up. Oh, we got press conferences. We got some conferences that are pressing. Andy Reid, Dave Tobe, Steve Spagnuolo, Matt Nagy, Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, and Joe Bot Tooney. So we'll hear from Joe Bot. I came here to protect quarterbacks. They called me Tooney. Error. Error. That was what happened when Will Anderson went right around him. He was like, error. Yeah. Then Mahomes had to go and wind him up. Let's go play football. Joe Bot Tooney. He will be the last one, we think. I'm not sure. I can't outright. We'll just have fun. We'll have fun with the answers from just doing whatever.
Tooney's an older model, so you just got to unplug, plug back in.
Great point. Just take it out, blow on the disc, and then put it right back in. All right, great. You got to figure out a way. My Nintendo, we had to actually, the only way that it would work is you had to put the cartridge in, push it down, and then the gun fit perfectly, like for the duck hunt gun, the gun fit perfectly to slide into that to keep the game cartridge down. So the flap had to stay up.
Yeah.
That was the only, so we had to find something to fit in there to where the game cartridge had to be smushed down for it to work eventually. So everybody had their own tricks with their Nintendo as to
Mine
how.
was a GameCube. My Nintendo 64 worked pretty good almost consistently. It was the GameCube.
Oh, you didn't have an original Nintendo? You didn't have the original Atari?
No.
Like we did in our house? Okay, cool.
No, sorry. I was reading books.
Pong. Pong. I'm playing Pong with Atari. Pong. Anyway.
No, but GameCube, I had to use nail polish. I had to find nail polish remover, I think it was, and you had to put it on. I looked it up. It was a whole...
That's crazy. Who thinks of those things,
yeah,
right?
and it worked. And so, but you had to get nail polish. If you were to play a game like it was during COVID, we were playing Mario Party. Because I found the GameCube, like, let's do this. Why wouldn't we?
Yeah, right.
And,
you had a Mario Party. Why wouldn't you?
Wasn't working, so I had to go to, like, Reddit and be like, what do you do if this isn't... And, like, try nail polish remover and rub it on the... So I did, and it somehow worked.
Wow. Did you see all the people complaining about the Chiefs refs when you were on Reddit? Looking back then.
Not in 2020?
Yeah. Also, back in the day when you couldn't really...
They liked Chiefs, actually, back then.
You couldn't save things in games sometimes. So we had the old Nintendo, and there was the Baseball Stars. I don't know if people remember the Baseball Stars video game. It was amazing. And my brother, who's, 8, 9, I don't need to say how old. He's older than I am. And so his friends are over, and they're playing Baseball Stars for like hours, right? Building up their players. Okay, now you've done this, so now you get Babe Ruth. You've done... And I was just in there hanging out, watching them. I was like in, I don't know, 2nd grade or 3rd grade. And so they asked me to go grab them something, and I do. And I step over, but I hit the cord and unplugged it. And that's a core memory for me because it didn't go well.
They beat your ass, didn't they?
It's a core memory.
Yeah.
It's a core memory for me. That's right. We'll take that. Now it'd just be like, oh, okay, well, it's fine. Just it picked it up right where it left off. You're all good. Yeah, that didn't go well. All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We will hear from the Kansas City Chiefs. They get ready for the Buffalo Bills 5:30-ish kickoff on Sunday. More Zone next. podium. It'll be Andy Reid, Dave Tobe, Steve Spagnuolo, Matt Nagy, Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, and Joe Tooney. Andy Reid first. This is an everyday but Tuesday Andy Reid week, head coach week with the championship game going on. And certainly we'll be wanting to check out what's going on in Buffalo for their practice.
Do you think he's looking forward to the challenge of playing the Buffalo Bills?
Okay, so
They're a well-coached team.
Injuries, same as yesterday. Looking forward to the challenge still. Playing the Bills.
They're still a well-coached team, shockingly. In one night, they didn't become poorly coached. That's good.
Great teamwork.
Yeah, so, yeah. We'll get Andy here in a little bit. We'll also get into, I want to talk about the running back situation with Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco from the first down, second down, third down aspect instead of just, hey, they're averaging the same yards per carry, et cetera.
I know they asked Patrick about the refs. Has anyone asked Andy about the refs? I can't remember.
Well,
I can't remember.
I wish they would
has.
ask every single player just to make sure it's going around. That
No, because Andy, I'm sure, has seen it. I would love to know.
I don't know
Hey,
that
Lebo.
Andy's seen it. I don't know that Andy's seen it. I think Andy.
Hey, Leibs.
I think Andy's locked in his cave at this time and is watching film constantly and annoyed that he's got to take 10 minutes out of that watching film and practicing and stuff to go and talk to the media about the same things that he probably discussed yesterday. But as more media shows up closer to the game, well, then they'll have questions for Andy Reid on the stories they're working on.
Oh, yeah.
Specifically. Oh, Andy, I was wondering about third downs in a leap year on in night games when you don't play on Christmas. Have you looked into that as to why it's been so successful for your team and why?
Spags is Lebo, listen to me. Ask Spags why or if that final snap when Christian Roland Wallace didn't know what he was doing and threw his hands up in the air and then blitzed, if that was why he didn't play anymore.
If that was his last snap? Well,
Spags, please answer.
Have we proven that was his last snap?
No.
Okay.
But he only played 3, so I'm assuming it was.
Right.
And you know what assuming does?
I know exactly what it does. It makes an asset of you and Ming.
Okay. But Lebo, please do that, because I want to know if Christian Roland Wallace is in the doghouse or if he's going to play a little bit more in the slot against what most likely would be Khalil Shakur versus Jamari Connor.
Yeah, so I'd have to go back and look. I'm not really sure, but if that's what you said, then I'll take your word for it that's what happened. I don't know. We'll just see what takes place this weekend.
That's pretty good, actually.
It was fine. It's not that.
The take your word for it was really good, though.
He does it all the time.
Yeah, I'll take your word for it.
Yeah, I've
doesn't want to call you a liar.
I've already moved on. I'd have to go back and look. I just don't remember right now because I'm so in prep for the next game, but. I'll take your word for it.
I love it. He just is like, anything that happens, don't remember. All I care about is what's up next. I don't care at all what just happened. What transpired the second the game ends,
right.
Wiped from his memory.
We are moving on.
It's like a closer in baseball. It's like you blow the game. No, didn't do it. Didn't happen. You close the game. Didn't happen. Don't remember.
Good. There we go.
Next day.
Yep. 913-912-4810 is the text line. 913-912-4810 is the text line to be a part of the show. When Andy gets there, we'll head out there. Technically, they were supposed to start around 11:45/11:50, but, whenever they get there.
It's 11:50 now. Yeah, they got some time.
It is. You're right.
Good morning, good afternoon.
It is 11:50 right now. So, you know what? Dave Tobe, it'll be an interesting one from him because of the special teams impact that they had and what Nico Remigio's done. And Harrison Butker kicking extra points and field goals right down the middle on going the same side that Kaimi Fairbairn couldn't figure out how to kick the ball with the wind. That's it. By the way, that's an advantage.
Nico Remigio needs to run the ball like Carson Steele was for a while there. He's
the 2 hands on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Agreed.
Carson Steele runs like you're holding down R1 in Madden, where you just hold it so you the 2 is it R1 or L1?
I thought R2 is the sprint, right?
Yeah, R2 is, but the one where you hold it.
You just hold it.
You just hold it.
And
the 2 hands
take on the defender right ahead of you. Yeah, and like we talked about, like the fumbles happen when you're going. A lot of them happen when you're going down to the ground. And he got hit. He's being tackled going down, and the guy reaches his hand in there and knocks it out. Well, it came out pretty easily, too.
It was at Buka in the title game.
That's right. Yeah.
Like that changed the whole game basically.
It's pretty common too for natural reaction to try and brace yourself. So what happens when you try and brace yourself? One hand's going to come off the ball.
Mm-hmm.
It's just human nature. And that's what you wanted to say is go against human nature, land on your shoulder. It's going to hurt more. You're not going to brace yourself.
Yeah.
But that ball ain't going anywhere.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens, but we'll see Andy Reid. He'll weigh in on the referee numbers, certainly. Andy, how much do you pay the refs? Is it a lot? Is it a little? And this conspiracy with Roger Goodell.
It's a high boy burger is what it is, actually. They go to high boy.
Are you aware of the fact that Roger Goodell and the owners have rigged it for you and your team? Are you aware of this by any chance? I don't know if you were or not. And also, how did Clark Hunt get the other owners to agree? Like the Yorks with the 49ers and Jeffrey Lurie with the Eagles. How did Clark Hunt get them to agree to Roger Goodell to rig the game for the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl when they've put in so much work to get a Super Bowl with their organizations? How does that happen, Andy? And have you talked? And Andy says Veach handles that. Here's Andy Reid.
No injuries to mention, so I'll turn it over to you guys.
Coach, this is you guys' seventh time being in this round. I wonder if you just have a sense for how hard it has been. This is only the Bills' second time to get this round in the stretch that you've been here, and they've been a very, very, very good team. Do you have a sense of just how hard it is to keep doing what you're doing against this group of teams that are all very good over these years?
No, I have a lot of respect for the teams that we've had a chance to play. So we've been fortunate to be able to get to this level, small margin between winning and losing in the National Football League. So again, we're fortunate to be here, although a lot of hard work's gone into it from all our guys. Yeah.
Coach, last game against the Bills, Patrick didn't have any rushes. We had one that was going to be a was called back for the penalty, but that's obviously part of his game, and something he does real well. And Brian has an extra set of downs. They have a special plan. Something that was unique. Is that what was tip your cap? And they had a good plan, and do you expect them to go back to that to start this time?
Yeah, well, they've been running the ball very well. They've got two good running backs, and they've got a quarterback that can run. So they ran it, I want to say, 35 times last week. So I'm sure they're gonna continue to utilize that. They've been doing that this year, and then at the same time, he can throw the ball too, and he throws it well. So as far as our game plan goes, we're gonna play what we do and go with it. And sometimes Pat takes off and runs. Sometimes he doesn't need to.
I was actually talking about Patrick running.
Yeah.
How they took away, how he didn't have any rushes.
Yeah.
And that they were able to kind of take that away, that part of his game away from you. Is that something unique that they did last time compared to what they've done in other games?
Yeah, they spied him last time. Yeah, they did a good job with that. Although we didn't have runs called at that time, we just had throws. And so I thought you were comparing the two. They've got called runs for their quarterback, and that's not what we have. Yeah.
Okay. Buffalo's really good at forcing turnovers. What makes them so good at taking the ball from the offense?
Who was it? Did you mention?
Buffalo.
Yeah, they're one of the best in the league, if not the best. So their turnover ratio is right at the top. So they do a good job of whether it's stripping the ball and or intercepting the ball. The guys have got good skill on the back end, along with the linebackers. So yeah, they've got a good scheme that puts them, gives them an opportunity to be able to do that.
We'll go last two, Todd and then Sarin. Go Todd. Coach, you guys had 8 sacks last week on defense. The Bills have done a nice job of protecting Allen. I know he's tough to tackle, but what are the keys to getting to him and getting him on the ground? Because it seems to be a difficult task for most.
Yeah, no, he's tough to get down. I tell you what I probably tell you every week is you got to stay disciplined and stay in your lanes, and then you go from there. But once you have a hold of him, you better know he's tough to bring down, so you better finish it. Yeah.
Coach, I know we talked about this a little bit on Monday about how Houston was able to finish the first half and then start the second half and really keep it outside. That's become, at least in the talking points, a bigger deal. Have teams gotten better at that? Is that something that you really, back when you were with the Packers, maybe it wasn't talked about as much, and now it's a real point of emphasis to try to, defer and control that time in the middle. Has it changed?
You know what? I don't know. I know what it is over the last 10 years or so. So it's been very consistent. If you're going to take me back 25 years, I might not have that stat for you, but I know teams are fairly consistent with that, with deferring, and then having that opportunity to work to drive that second half and get the ball.
Is it part of the game calling of trying to not just score? You always said scoring is the most important thing, right? Obviously.
Yeah, well,
but also burning the clock.
You hope you finish with the ball, and then you hope you get to start it and get you an extra series in there. However, there's no. It's about 50-50 right there on the good and the bad of it. So it's not a huge thing if you don't get it.
Okay, thanks, Coach.
All right, good.
So, yeah, another emphasis question about the turnovers that the Bills cause, and obviously that is going to be something that will be emphasized to the players. All of the fumbles that they force, and Patrick Mahomes talking about his 2 interceptions. The final 2 interceptions that he threw was against the Bills. Here is Patrick Mahomes right now.
Patrick, we were just talking with Coach about the end of half, the whole thing. I know Houston really kept you guys sitting there for like about an hour of real time. What do you do to try to stay sharp and stay in the game when a situation like that happens?
For me, it's just you stay calm and you just kind of keep yourself warm. I think it affected me my first AFC Championship game with we played the Patriots, and at the first drive they had one of those super long drives, and you get on the field and you want to score 2 touchdowns with 1 play, but all you can do is just go about your process, stay warm, stay patient, and when you get on the field, just maximize the opportunity.
Where we get you on Thursdays, just as they started the week, how would you estimate the team and things are going in practice and just the vibe of the energy right now?
Yeah, I think guys are ready to go. We had a good day of practice yesterday, and you get the base install in. Guys get a feel for the game plan. You go out there and execute fast, and you have 3rd down today. So it's just about getting everybody in the right positions to succeed and going out there and playing fast. And I don't think anyone's making this too big of a moment. Everybody knows how big it is, but at the same time, we go about our process.
Patrick, this is probably one of the few times you come into the championship game without any injury, so to speak. Do you find yourself, if push comes to shove, without you having to think about it, that you may take some chances, run if you need to, or just as it just comes along?
Yeah, I think you just play to win. I mean, there'll be opportunities to run the football. They do a good job of spying the quarterback in certain situations. So you want to be able to use your feet, but at the same time work within the pocket, find guys down the field. But it's the AFC Championship game. You got to put it all on the line in order to win and try to get to the Super Bowl. And this is a great football team we're going up against. So I think all of us are going to go out there and give everything we have.
Patrick, I think everybody understands the importance of ball security, but can you talk about just how you guys talk about it internally and how you prepare so that it doesn't happen?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at this, just the NFL in general, I think it's every team that's won the ball security, won the turnover battle, has won the football game in the playoffs so far this year, and that's super important for us. Buffalo does a great job of it. I don't think they've lost one the entire season. So just trying to protect the football. When defense gets opportunities, try to take the football away, and then just let the game come to you. Don't press and don't try to do too much. So it's extremely important, especially in the playoffs and especially when you go up against some of the best teams.
Related to that, Josh was asked about this yesterday, but there was a play in that Ravens game. Just wanted your reaction to it. It looked like he was going to pitch the ball. As you're watching the game, what do you think as a quarterback when you see like he's almost going to do something like that?
I mean, I think I saw it just as he saw it. So it was probably the smart decision not to pitch in that moment. But you don't want to take that creativity away from guys, and that's why we never said anything to Travis. Well, you do it and it works. It works and it's a good thing. But if it's not there, don't do it.
Patrick, you've never had to wait, more than 1 year to get back to the AFC Championship game. Can you have an appreciation for, Josh and the Bills haven't been in this game since 2020. How long, and keep rolling the ball up the hill and having to come back down. I know you guys are very fortunate to get to where you've done. These other teams in the AFC, there's a lot of really good teams, and they don't get to do this every year. You have sympathy, appreciation for whatever these guys are trying to do?
No, I have extreme appreciation just for the process of getting here. I talk about that with some of the younger guys. I mean, some of these guys all they've known is Super Bowls, and I mean, obviously that's a good problem to have. But I make sure that they know and appreciate this moment and having this opportunity, because it doesn't happen every year. I mean, it seems like it's happened every year here, but you don't get this opportunity to play in these games. You never know when's going to be your last one, and you have to go out there and maximize it. And you do have appreciation because even when you win a Super Bowl, you start back at the bottom. You start back level with everybody. You have to go about your process and put in that work. And so it definitely is a battle every single year. Every season's different, and you just appreciate being in this game, and you just try to find a way to maximize it and try to get to that next one.
We'll go left street, Darren, Pete, and Saran. Go, Darren.
Patrick, this is kind of twofold, but on the first half when you talked about the younger players knowing nothing about winning, but you've experienced both the downside of winning and losing at home. Have you won, kind of told them what it's like to lose in the overtime, especially in the manner in which you all did against the Patriots and the big performance? Yeah,
no, it sucks losing. Just as much as it's awesome winning, it sucks losing. So, I mean, you just try to go out there and put your best foot forward. You try to do whatever you can to give everything you have on the football field, and then you live with the results. But at the same time, you prepare through the week. You sacrifice things. You sacrifice time away from family to go out there and just be the best player and best teammate that you can be, and then hope that turns out into a win.
And also, this will be the last time we talked to you before the game. So, any message for Chiefs Kingdom and Arrowhead? Because obviously, when we were in Buffalo, we saw how the crowd was involved and how loud it got for you on the third down. It wasn't a sold out crowd Saturday against Houston. So, what message would you give to Chiefs Kingdom?
Yeah, I mean, Chiefs Kingdom they're always passionate. They're always loud. I would just say let's even take it up a notch. Let's see how loud this place can really get. But I always appreciate the support and the love that they show for us, and so I'm just excited for another AFC Championship game back at Arrowhead.
Just considering your interaction with Josh, you mentioned watching in and obviously the golf. How grateful are you for having a relationship off the field with really considered to be amongst NFL circles like your biggest rival in a way?
Yeah, I mean, he's a good dude. I mean, I understand why his team plays so hard and how they leave everything on the line because they have a leader out over there that goes out there and does that every single week. And whenever you go up against the best, it brings the best out of you. And to go up against someone that you have a friendship with off the field as well, it's just like a brother or anything else. When you compete, you're going to compete. But when you're off the field, you're going to joke around and have fun too. So I mean, it's a competition that both of us want to win. But to know it's another good dude on the other side of the field is always fun.
Last one, Saran.
I don't go into the Bills game. You guys were undefeated, and we talked a lot each week, and you were constantly saying, "Hey, our goal is to win the championship." Looking back on it, did losing that game, you guys have played obviously very well since. Were there lessons that were taught? Did the loss maybe clean some help you guys focus in and figure out anything to make you a better team now?
Yeah, I always believe losing can be either a positive or a negative, and so obviously you lose a football game and that sucks, and you don't have the undefeated season, but you learn from those mistakes. You learn where you can get better, and you use that to make yourself a better football team and a better player. And so just learning from that game, going up against one of the best football teams in the NFL and losing, you find some of your weaknesses. You try to make those things better. And then I think the most positive, I didn't have to play Week 18, so that was probably the best for me.
Thank you, guys.
There's Patrick Mahomes. They got Week 18 off, and it's been a while, and now they get ready for the Buffalo Bills. Yet another chapter of the Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes saga. Josh Allen's got the better of the two in the regular season, but doesn't really matter because Patrick Mahomes is 3-0 versus Josh Allen in the postseason. And we talk about modern day Brady and Manning, but I mean, Manning was 3-2 against Brady in the postseason. So, I mean, it's not exactly like Brady was dominating Peyton Manning anytime they matched up in the playoffs, I mean, and that's what's happening with Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen. Here is Dave Tope.
Was Saturday about as windy a game as you've seen there at Arrowhead?
It was a very windy day. I wouldn't say it was the most windiest at Arrowhead, but that was definitely a factor.
What do you feel like Blackford's range would have been?
What do we have that day?
Going one way or the other.
Yeah, I think he was. We were 40-yard line on one side and 37 on the other. Yeah, and then it depends on what part of the game too. Like if at the end of the right before the half. We might try to bang one even longer.
What's your advice for Justin Reed? I mean, he's getting pretty close to a penalty there, I think. I mean,
yeah, I mean, he studies a lot of tape. I mean, he's the main reason why we're getting these blocks. I mean, because he gets off such a great get off on the edge, and it makes everybody respond to that, and it opens up gaps for Leo, who's like a couple spots down from him. And he studies tape. He watches the snappers, movements. It could be a squeezing of the hand. It could be a dip of the hips, whatever it is to indicate that the snap is imminent. He has a great get off. I mean, he was tied to the football just about in that game, 2 of them, and made a difference.
Does he have a green light to go for it?
No, not all the time. I mean, we have different snappers or different. We have a game plan. It's not every week. If we have somebody that's different that doesn't give us that, then we don't do it. We just dial in on the football and go on the ball.
Do you even vary it during the game? Maybe
Oh yeah, there's no question.
But
It'll change during the game. It'll change situation. Game winner could change things. I mean, all those things are factors. And then Leo, you just tell Leo, this is the time. Okay, and he goes and gets it. he's a beast. He really is.
Coach, the non-move in a sense of Nicole was almost a vote of confidence in Nico, and Holmes has a return last week. I guess, how close do you feel like he is to maybe?
He's doing a really good job. I mean, it's been 6 weeks now. He's been up, and every week we're getting more and more confident in him. Punt return and kick return. He's just been a pleasant to have him, do so well. It's good to see it.
Couple more.
Coach, I know when Buck first came back, he had some struggles. He
Yeah.
also, when he was making them, we kind of been spoiled that it's going to be right down the middle with him, and he was maybe just kind of smooth them in on the inside.
When he first came back,
Right.
yeah.
Now, as you mentioned, really tough conditions. It looked like you feel like he's
He's a great manager of the wind. He understands the wind and how much. And in his pregame warm up, he'll try different stuff and figure that out. And he kicks a lot of kicks pregame, and by the time he gets to the game, he's he's dialed in. Now sometimes the wind changes during the game. That's why you'll see him periodically walk out on the field and check things, and he's always doing that. So total confidence in him, especially during the playoffs.
And you think he's, physically,
Yeah.
he's good enough to play, but also like block. I think it's probably, I'm sure, like a golfer, you repetitions and all that, but that he's back to being.
Yeah, I think he just needed more kicks. I mean, he had the operation on his left leg, his plant leg. So that's the one where he gets his power from. He plants that leg, and that power comes out of that leg that's being driven into the ground. So I think over time, these weeks that since his surgery, I think he's back. The last couple of weeks in practice, he's been good, and then in the game was excellent.
Coach, just Bills, coverage, returns.
Yeah.
What are the next guy on the board?
Codrington was the guy that we faced in the last game. The last time we played, week 11. He's been out the last 2 weeks. He's been down, and they went to number 10. Who's probably the best receiver after the catch in the league. As a wide receiver, very dangerous. You see it against Denver, where he made a whole bunch of people miss. As a punt returner, he's a good, solid catcher. Doesn't have a lot of reps in games, but very dangerous. So we think he might be even better than 29. But both of them are dangerous. They're really good in the return game. They don't make a lot of mistakes penalty-wise on special teams. They're pretty solid there. They don't beat themselves. Well coached. It's going to be a tough battle.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
All right, there's Dave Tobe. You're listening to Sports Radio 810 WHB Kansas City, KCFX HD4 Harrisonville. We'll hear from Steve Spagnuolo and then Matt Nagy and then Chris Jones and Joe Tooney. Heard from Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, and there Dave Tobe that, Butker needed the reps, and that certainly was a positive in that game, seeing him drill those field goals, extra points right down the middle, and especially going in the direction that Fairbairn couldn't figure it out.
Stalling in the red zone was a positive.
That's right. Yes, you take some things away from it. Butker, you get him some confidence back. There we go. Here's Spags.
A little different setting, huh? It's not that quaint, cozy little area we had. Real quick, real proud of the way the guys played last week to get us to this point. Feel really blessed to be in this game. Really honored to be in it. Thank God every day to be able to be working again this week. So with that, I'll open it up.
There were some extraordinary sequences the way you did that with the quarterback, particularly in the fourth quarter of the game the other day. How do you develop that knack? How did you develop that knack for knowing when to come after them, when not to? Is it all down, distance, score, time of the game, or is there?
Yeah, probably a little bit of more of a feel than anything else. I mean, listen, I know the guys do enjoy that part of it, like they like to be aggressive. I mean, every DB and every linebacker will tell you that they want to blitz. You know, you can't do it every down. And, you know, there may have been some in there earlier, if I go back, you know, that didn't quite work the way we wanted. Fortunately for us in that part of the game, the guys executed it exactly the way we had practiced it, and they ended up being positive plays for us.
When you call it a feel, can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, well, I mean, when I say feel, so the things that go into it is how have they protected prior to that, you know, different looks we gave them before, how did they react? I'm always talking to the guys up top. And then, you know, I might have a little list of, okay, if we get in this situation, let's go with that. And I'm usually trying to give the guys a heads up on the sideline. I don't always get a chance to do that because sometimes I just pull something out of the sky, and not literally. But I'll try to say, hey, look, I'm thinking about next time if we get in this situation of running this. I think that helps them ahead of time. It doesn't always work that way, but we were fortunate in this past game to have that happen.
Coach, what is like the biggest difference regular season playing against Josh and then, you know, facing the postseason that you all?
Yeah.
It seemed like you had trouble in the regular season, but postseason.
Well, I don't know. We're not banking on that. I know one thing. When we went up there to play them this past year, it felt like a playoff game. You know, I mean, I think both teams approached it that way. And we all know, we all talk about how the speed of the game goes up in these games. I mean, everybody's focus goes laser focus. And he is, I mean, he's a premier threat in this league. I mean, we all know that, right? Not just with his arm, but with his legs and how big he is. I mean, I'm amazed every time I put the tape on. I mean, I was shaking my head this morning talking to the guys going, how do you stop this guy? And I made one comment to one of the coaches. I said, now I know how other defenses feel that we play when they're going against Patrick, because they just do things that are uncanny and so talented.
When you look at Josh, there's not a lot of negative plays, not a lot of sacks, not a lot of turnovers.
No.
What's the difficulty in stopping the team when you have to be responsible for stopping they don't let them make plays?
Yeah, I mean, if you're not going to get those kind of plays to set things back, then to me, it's about not allowing the explosive plays. Like we had a couple of those last time we played them. And that kind of gets things going when you know it's going to be really tough to set them back. And you know, listen, not coach speak, but it is going to come down to the situational football. We need to be better in third down. We need to win in red zone. We played good in red zone last week, and that made a big difference. And because they are going to move the football, we recognize that. I mean, they run the ball real well. They got an elite quarterback. So some of that, you're not going to stop everything. We're not going to shut somebody down. You need to slow them down and try to win those situational downs.
What are the defensive roles to just sort of maintain the soundness of the defense when the play breaks down and Josh Allen's just out there creating plays on
Yeah, I wish I had a secret to that. Listen, in the course of the game, the best thing that can happen for us is that all 11 function as 11. Because he's one of those guys, especially up front, if you're talking about the 4 or 5 guys that we bring, or they need to function as one, because he finds one little seam, and if we've got guys in man with their back turned, I mean, that's where I tell you, he's one of those guys, and you know, you've all seen it, that he sees everything. I watched him this morning, a defensive play, I forget who they were playing, looked like they may have put their leg out to trip the running back, and he immediately was turning to the official, like he saw everything. I mean, he's like Patrick. Right, that their vision is uncanny, and so I think he can sense and feel when there's an opening there, and that's what gets really challenging.
Let's finish. We gotta get going. Okay.
Sorry, go.
Yeah.
I didn't mean to interrupt. You didn't have them in here Watson in week 11. You have them back now. What do they provide for you?
Yeah, well, he gives us. Listen, the one thing about Jalen, and we're glad we got him, but I mean, when you're 3 months removed, you know, it's kind of, we had him for 2 weeks. He practiced, and I told him going into the game, you know, the speed of the game is going to be. So we kind of slowed him in there. I don't know if you noticed, and so hopefully this week we get a little bit more out of him. But we've talked with all the DBs. We're going to need everybody. I mean, all hands on deck to try to win this football game. So all those guys will play.
Steve, Andy talked the other day about how the priority was doing better on third downs
Yeah.
than you did against them the last time.
Yeah.
What are the specific challenges of this opponent? I mean, is it just the skills of the quarterback?
Well, I mean, one thing that really for them, you go 3rd and 2 to, you could bring it all the way up to 6. There's still a chance they run the football. That's tremendously challenging for a defense when you got a quarterback that can do that. We know that they'll go for it on 4th down in certain situations. So we'd like to get them in to the point that we'd like to get them in those longer 3rd downs, but that's easier said than done with this football team. So when they're in those manageable 3rd downs from their standpoint, it becomes challenging really because of the quarterback, in my opinion.
So really, let's Pete, Nate, and Matt, really quick.
Both Justin Reed and Golden pointed to eye candy yesterday. I guess just how much of an emphasis is that for you this week?
Yeah, from our standpoint, it's all about eye discipline. The eye candy is all the moving that they do. They're really good at it. I mean, you talk about, we're watching plays on tape and wondering how they practice it and get the timing down so well. But they've done a great job up there as coaches, and we just can't let our eyes get lost in all of, that's what Nick and Justin are talking about. So there's been a big emphasis on that this week.
Steve, what have you seen most from Charles Benedict in terms of helping the rest of the unit improve, and how's an individual public game is this?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we can get him into the past situations we're talking about. Now, Charles is in there on 1st and 2nd down as well, and I think he's playing the run really well too, and we need that. I mean, we know what this team can do running the football. We talk a lot about the quarterback, but they've been running it really effective. But he gives us length, and he's a relentless pass rusher, and he's had, there's been at least 2 I can think of, where one of these days we'll come up with that ball when he knocks it out. But he's long and loves to rush the passer, so hopefully we can get in those situations to get him out there.
Last one, Matt.
You obviously play a lot of nickel and dime formations, but it seems like there's been a lot more emphasis on the safeties, but playing more Jamari, playing more Jake.
Yeah.
What's the kind of the function of that? What do you like about that?
Well, both those guys you mentioned are real versatile. You put B. Cook, Justin Reed, Jaden in there, Chamari, and even C. Rowe, Chris Rowland Wallace. I mean, they're all really instinctive, natural football players. They can't all play at once. But, if you've been around, we've been around together for a while. I mean, we like the moving pieces and the different bodies. I think it makes it, or hopefully it does make it challenging for the quarterback when there's different jersey numbers out there. And as long as guys can go out there and produce and perform, play as many as we can.
Thanks,
we good? All right, thank you.
All right, there's Steve Spagnuolo. A lot of talk about Josh Allen and how good he is. Obviously, the same thing that's going on in Buffalo. Talks about Patrick Mahomes and playing against him. Josh Allen has not been turning the ball over. And as Steve Spagnuolo said, if you're not getting those negative plays, you can't allow explosive plays. And the game will come down to situational football, 3rd downs and red zone. Chiefs were good in the red zone against the Houston Texans. The Chiefs scored twice, 2 touchdowns in the red zone. That's, sort of the difference in the game. So here's Matt Nagy.
They did a good job of taking away the run from Pat. He had 0 rushes was all said and done. I mean, was that something unique that, did they emphasize it more than maybe other teams had when they were able to eliminate his run?
They probably have a little bit. I think they do a good job of making sure that any of these quarterbacks that use their legs as a weapon, they have some techniques that they use to try to eliminate that. Pat has done a great job in his career of being able to do just that in big time moments, and Coach McDermott and his guys there, I think that's something that they really emphasize. So we're aware of that, we know that, and we got to pick and choose, and Pat does in particular when he wants to use his legs, and then also I think he does a great job of keeping his eyes downfield.
When it comes to the running back position, going into a game, are you looking at it like a hot hand type of thing where if one gets going, you'll stick with them, or is it still we want to have multiple backs and those looks?
There's probably a little bit of that. As you get going, I think that's probably real. I mean, it's a benefit that both of those guys, I mean, the thing that I love about both of those with Pacheco and Kareem is the fact that they are so competitive, both of them. But they both also understand that this element of the game is critical. So if a guy has a hot hand and has some great carries early on, maybe you stick with them, get the next guy in. The good part about that, too, is just conserving energy, letting the guy go out there that's 100% every time he's out there. So there's a nice balance to that.
Coach, next, Vincent.
Okay.
Matt, it's been a few years, but you've game planned and called plays against Spagnuolo before. What's that experience like?
It's not easy, I can tell you that. And we get to go against him in training camp, and he presents a lot of different challenges. So schematically, it's not easy. Like you just said, Adam, it's something where the Bills and Chiefs have been going against each other for a while. So player to player, coach to coach, there's a little bit of that. So the tendency part of it, you want to make sure that you're good with your tendencies, unscouted looks, how do you handle that? And then when you get out there too, it's controlling the emotions, not just as players, but as coaches too. You got to be able to control your emotions and just stay within the game and understand it's two really good football teams going at it.
Coach Nagy's benefit of having both the running backs and your full complement of receivers, that they go a little deeper in the playbook.
Yeah, it does. And for us, when the more weapons you have, it's not an easy balance too with all these players and whatever position it is. But I think Coach Reed does a really good job making sure he coaches the coaches to see what he wants. And then we as coaches got to be the conduit to the players and make them understand that there is one football. But when you're designing plays, when you're putting things in, you look back to where we started, where we were in the middle of the season to where we're at now. We feel really at full strength, and I think the guys have had really the last couple of weeks some really solid practices, and now it's the emotional side of keeping that in check too, and then just wait until game time.
Coach, when you look at Von Miller, he's obviously been disruptive against the offensive line of the last year type of draw player. How do you account for him this time around, knowing this is the type of game that they brought him in for?
For sure. He's a hell of a player that just his motor's going nonstop all the time. This year he's playing really fast. He's productive. You saw what he did last week. We've been seeing him from back in Denver, and we know who he is. And these are the type of games where you want to take those type of players and prevent them from making game-changing plays. There's going to be some plays that are made on their end. We know that, but don't make it that game-changing play. So we want to be solid there, but he's a heck of a player.
Coach, the Bills have the best turnover ratio in the league. They force a lot. They don't turn the ball very much. On your side of it, what do they do well to force turnovers?
Well, I think it's a mentality from them, just the mentality of seeing that they're attacking the football. They're a little bit of a bend but don't break, which prevents or it makes more plays for the offense, which now has more opportunities for a fumble, an interception, etc. So they preach that, they teach that. We preach it and teach it on offense to make sure, and I think we've done a pretty good job this year of protecting the football, and that's helped us play some complementary football. So that's the beauty of why both teams, I think, are where we're at right now. We find ways to win. You protect the football. And then most importantly, more than anything, is make sure that when the time is there to make a play, that you're the one that wants the ball to make the play. So protect it, but then when it's time to make a play, make the play.
Coach, against Houston, DeAndre Hopkins' snaps were a little bit lower.
Mm-hmm.
Lineup, was it just load management?
No, that wasn't intentional. So last week was a little bit of a strange game, series-wise, play-wise, rhythm-wise. Nothing's intentional. DeAndre's been phenomenal this whole time. We know what he can bring and what he does bring to us. None of that was intentional.
Thank you, everybody. Thanks, Coach.
All right, thank you.
All right, there's Matt Nagy, the running back by duo. Benefit of having both of those guys in different styles, but also a little bit of the hot hand that they will go with if need be, and then the complement of full weapons with their playbook. Here's Chris Jones.
Last time, what makes him so difficult to sack?
We didn't get there. His elusiveness to avoid rushers, get out of the pocket. Offensive line is playing really, really good. We got to challenge ourselves to be effective in the passing game, especially the front four.
There wasn't a lot, there hasn't been a lot of talk about James Cook, but what problems does he potentially bring to this defense? When last game he only had 20 yards against you all, but it seems that since that game he's been picking up a lot of sneak money. So what type of problems can he bring towards the defense?
I think this number is correct. The last two games, total rushing yards has been 354, if I'm correct. So they've been running the ball effective the past two games. So I think he's going to be a vital part of their success in coming in here. So we definitely got to be able to stop the run if we have any type of chance of competing in this game.
Chris, since he got here, he's very, very high on Joe Cullen, and last game he sacked kind of coming from everywhere. Just what makes him so good at developing young players into contributors?
I mean, being able to be patient with young players, let them grow, let them be able to make mistakes, also getting the best out of each individual in the room.
Chris, how much does, when you have a running quarterback, whether it's Josh or anybody, how much does that maybe slow the pass rush? Because you got to be worried about him escape penalty. We beat you guys a number of times with his legs. Does that slow up you guys, trying to get to him just in a pure pass rush sense?
In a sense, but as long as we're rushing him discipline, and I think we can affect him. We just got to be on the umbrella of a discipline.
Couple more.
Having a few years with Charles now, Chris, what can you pinpoint as to why he played some of his best football in the postseason?
Well, Charles has been a vital part for us, especially in the pass rush. I think that's what we brought him here for. He's been able to broadcast that on the later stages, getting in his groove. I think he missed a couple games, missed a lot of games this year due to injury, and last year he ended up missing 4 to 6 games. So being able to have Charles at his peak during this time of the year is vital for us. I think we can stride off of that, and he played really, really good football in the postseason.
Last one, Rob. Okay, thanks
Thank
everybody.
you.
All right, there's Chris Jones, and one more would be Joe Thuney. And, Josh Allen, the elusiveness, gets outside the pocket, have to worry about those things. And just, difficult to sack in general. Like, they don't give up sacks at offensive line, and Josh Allen does not take a lot of sacks because of, one, how big he is, but also, his ability to get outside and create and throw the football. He's not somebody that, is like C.J. Stroud or Joe Burrow or Stafford or some of the quarterbacks that we've seen. Like, wow, they take a lot of sacks. Well, they do hold the ball a little bit longer, and they aren't as elusive, and they don't necessarily feel like I'm just going to throw this away. You know what, I'll try to do. I got sacked, So you have two quarterbacks in this game that are two of the best in the NFL at avoiding sacks. Here's Joe Thuney.
This week, you have the unique perspective of playing for Tom, with Tom and Patrick. Did you ever get the sense playing with both guys that there was anything where maybe they would get an additional call here or there as opposed to potentially other quarterbacks?
No, I let the refs take care of the officiating and kind of just focus on what I'm doing, and I haven't really noticed that.
So what was your first reaction when they talked to you about that tackle?
Yeah, different position, just kind of just taking it a day at a time and trying to do the best I can, and prepare as well as I can, and the coaches, teammates, everyone's been so supportive. So I'm just trying to stay on track and just keep getting better day by day.
So with a year at left tackle, left guard, you're probably going to be facing Bob Goodwin. What type of competition do you see when you line up against him?
Yeah, I mean, he's been an elite player for a long, long time, and he's that doesn't seem to be stopping at all, and he just does so many things well. Such a smart player, so fast, so strong. So just a great combination for a defensive lineman, and it's a team effort though, and going to take all 11 on offense.
Joe, what is the defensive lineman like Ed Oliver for challenge-wise?
Yeah, he plays so hard. He's a very physical player, strong, quick, knows the game really well. The whole defense is very, everyone's so disciplined, and everyone seems to be, where they're supposed to be at all times. And he's really good in the run and pass, and so yeah, it's going to be a challenge.
Switch to left tackle. I guess the underrated part is Mike's job. How have you seen him really take on that as you jumped out there?
Yeah, I mean, year after year, he's just always preparing, always doing the most he can. He's in the playbook, nonstop, always working. So it's been great to see him excel, and he's been doing a great job, and he's always been ready, and so yeah, it's been really happy for him.
Last two.
Sit like in the end of the Texas game, really end of the first half, they had the ball and they had it for every. How hard is it for you guys to be off the field for that long when they try to turn back on and go out?
Yeah, trying to stay loose. You're not sure when you're going to go back on the field. Third downs or turnovers or anything, but just trying to stay loose. Always just locked into the game, and but just it's always trying to stay ready to go, whatever happens in the game.
Last one, Nate.
Joe, there's a clip that's circulating online of a block that you and Travis sort of worked on late in the game for Kareem to sort of slip it through. It looked like Travis screamed something at you. Just what worked from your perspective on that play, and what were you and Travis saying to one another?
Yeah, Trav, I think I know which one you're talking about. Trav's a great blocker, and anytime, you can work with a tight end who's, all our tight ends are great blockers and eager to block, and, just trying to, make a hole for Kareem, and, he's really good at finding them any space at all, and, we're both from Ohio, so probably something Ohio related or something, but, but thank you guys very much. Appreciate it.
We got a joke out of Joe. He's Jokebot Tooney now. Joe Bot Tooney to Jokebot Tooney. That's
dangerous. 'Cause now he's becoming, sentient? That means.
Oh my goodness, he can learn. That's
Yeah,
right.
it's
Now he has
dangerous.
feelings. You don't want that to happen. You don't want him to have feelings. No way. I guess there is a clip floating around out there, right? Of maybe like a Kareem Hunt run or something like that, and then Kelsey and Tooney sort of headbutting at the end. Yeah,
I haven't seen it.
I don't know. I think if you go to like blogs and other people's like podcasts and stuff, it's on there. Or if you just would have gone to my Twitter account on Monday morning, you would have seen it first. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. A couple things to take away from the press conferences. Lots of people talking. Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Dave Toub, Steve Spagnuolo, Matt Nagy, Chris Jones, Joe Thuney. Steve Spagnuolo, talking about Jalen Watson, said they eased him in on Saturday, that they're hopefully going to get more out of him this game, which he played 60% of the snaps.
Yeah, 40 snaps. That's an easing in.
Yeah. So, which, tells you how ready they think Jalen Watson is. I mean, he looked good. He looked really good in those in the game. I mean, he was the second highest graded, according to Pro Football Focus, player in coverage in the game. It was Trent McDuffie and then Jalen Watson. So that makes a huge difference. I mean, we asked Matt Lane in the previous hour about, the players that didn't play the first go-around and who he thinks would have the bigger impact in this game. And, Jalen Watson, Charles Omenihu, and Hollywood Brown. And he said, Jalen Watson easily, for me, is Jalen Watson. And the point that he made, which is an appropriate point, in that, Nazeeh Johnson just simply got picked on in that game. I mean, they went at Nazeeh Johnson. He was targeted 12 times, 9 receptions, 103 yards, and a touchdown, a quarterback rating against of 128 in the game.
Some say not great.
Yeah, that's suboptimal. You know what I mean? Like, it's not what if you had your choice of what to have, you wouldn't choose that one. You know what I mean? You would choose maybe Trent McDuffie, the 3 targets, 1 reception, 1 yard. You would choose that
if I had my druthers.
Yeah, if your druthers were out there and you had them, if you lose your druthers, if you grabbed them again and you had your druthers, then you would choose what Trent McDuffie did. So he went Jalen Watson. And yes, Jalen Watson can make a big difference. We know that Keon Coleman and Dalton Kincaid did not play in the first game that they played earlier this year. So they get those 2 players back. The Chiefs get Jalen Watson back. For the Chiefs, Watson being back makes a difference. It certainly helped Watson being back and Tank Dell and Stephon Diggs not being out there for the Houston Texans. Because even with Watson back, you still had Hutchinson and, making some plays and John Mechie, making some catches and everything in some big spots. So this will be, Amari Cooper had 2 big catches over Nazeeh Johnson. There was the one down the sideline that was just a dime. That was the one-handed catch by Amari Cooper. And then there was the one that was reviewed that looked like it was pretty close to being incomplete. The ball stopped just as his first or second foot was starting to come off the ground, or what would have been his first foot, because he got one more down after that and then stepped out of bounds. The first foot was starting to come off the ground, and the ball stopped. So they said, well, by the ball stopping, immediately that's possession. So the half second, then, he had possession for a half second while his toe was still making contact with the ground. That was pretty darn close to not being a completion. That changes some things, obviously, with Nazeeh Johnson's numbers, but Jalen Watson being out there makes a difference. We know eye test, numbers, all of that. Watson over Nazeeh Johnson. The Chiefs are better at doing that.
So I don't know if it's easily, but I get where he's coming from because, Najee Johnson, just looking through all the numbers, too, he played 73 snaps, so all 73. That's a lot for defense, by the way. So you're going to get beat here and there, but just overall, Najee had himself – he hasn't had a good year, but a really bad game. His coverage grade was 42.7, which was by far the lowest of any Chief. 43 overall grade in that game. But I do think that Charles Omenihu brings a lot of value coming back, not just for what he does by himself, but Karlaftis had not a great game. This was one of the lowest ranked Chris Jones games, by the way. Turk Wharton had one of his worst games, by the way, in this one as well. So, again, funny enough, Mike Dana had one of his best games in this one in 45 snaps. Just for me personally, you know my thoughts on this. It's not just what Charles Omenihu does by himself, but what he allows everyone else to do. And not just Chris Jones. That's the easy one. To me, it is the Tershawn Whartons that have a huge value because I said it. Turk had a great start to the year. I thought he got worn down. I just thought that the amount of snaps, just the totality of what he was doing was too much for him. So Charles comes back. Turk's snap count goes down, but the effectiveness of each snap was exponentially better, and we saw it. And so I think with Charles back, you'll see a better Turk, a better Chris, and then a better Karlaftis, just because what he does for the rest of the defensive line. But again, you can make the same case that obviously Jalen Watson does that for the cornerback room and the secondary. I just think that it's not quite as much Watson for sure, and then Gap, then Charles.
We'll take a break. We'll come back, and I want to talk about something that Chris Jones said that gives me optimism on the way they will play this weekend versus what we've seen the last two games for this Chiefs team defensively. Neither of them, by the way, involving a single sack against Josh Allen. The last two times the Chiefs have played the Bills, Josh Allen has not been sacked in those games, but it didn't have to do with sacking Josh Allen. It had to do with a different part of the defense. So we'll talk about that on the other side. More Zone next. fact that the Chiefs had 13 missed tackles in that game against the Buffalo Bills, which was a season high. The 13 missed tackles. The previous, the second closest was the Ravens. They had 11 missed tackles there. The Chiefs averaged, outside of the Buffalo Bills game, they averaged 5.5 missed tackles per game, and they had 13 against the Bills. So that has to improve, and I expect it to improve. And I said, going to break, something that Chris Jones said that, stood out, and I sort of made a note of it in talking about what the Bills do. And he said the last two games, the way they've been rushing on us, I'm paraphrasing here, the way they've been rushing, what do they have, like 286 yards or something on the ground? Last two games, they've gained 286 yards rushing. You think they've been told how many yards rushing that they've given up the last two games against the Buffalo Bills combined? They're in that defensive locker room, in that defensive room. You think they've been notified about this team has gained almost 300 yards rushing the last two games that you have played against them? You guys are a good rushing defense, right? Team's putting up 143 per game. Last year's divisional game, you won. This year, you didn't. 50-50 shot. You want to give up that many rushing yards then? Or go out there and shut them down rushing the football and let your cornerbacks earn the third down passing situations.
What's the number for you? Because
One.
Oh. For me, I think the number that the Chiefs need to keep the Bills' rushing attack under is about 125.
Really?
I think about 125.
Boy, I was thinking like 70 or 80.
No. Not just because that encompasses all of the run game. That includes Josh Allen with his legs.
I'm including Josh Allen,
James Cook, Ray Davis, Ty Johnson.
I'm including all of it.
125 and under for that is pretty good. Pretty good. I'm counting on there's going to be a 20-yard.
If you want to
Josh
cover,
Allen rush.
yeah, it's really good.
But
if you want to win the game, I don't think you can. I think he's right. You cannot let them.
What I would be concerned about if they got 120 is how many times it sets up shorter second downs, shorter third downs, and things like that. Like they are not an explosive offense, and if they're not an explosive offense, I kind of feel like I want to take my chances proving that they can be. Instead of letting them be sort of methodical and just pick up first down after first down and feel like it's a lot of the Chiefs' MO that we've seen the last couple of years of just back-breaking third down conversions that just take the air out of the defense. And it felt like that, especially that last drive by the Bills. Chiefs were down 2 with, 5.5 minutes to go. And they got the ball down 9 with, 2 minutes to go. And after that touchdown, and they converted 2 third downs and a fourth down on that drive, and one of them was a 3rd and 9 with 4.5 minutes to go, and they converted that. Like those are the backbreakers.
I get it. They averaged 136.2 yards rushing per game, is what I'm seeing
this year.
In the last 3, they've averaged 162.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. You give them 40 yards lower. I'm just saying.
But also, if you're winning the game by a decent amount, you're running it more.
Yeah,
so if they're picking up those yards, they got an early lead against the Ravens and sort of leaned into, we're not going to do anything stupid here. And we're going to lean into, Josh Allen had 150 total yards passing and rushing in the game against the Ravens. Again,
sure.
I think the Ravens are the better team between them and the Bills.
Part of me says it's because I know Josh Allen's going to run more in the playoffs than he does in the regular season.
He does. Yeah, you're right.
That's part of my equation here.
In fact, looking at those two games in the divisional round last year, Josh Allen gained 72 yards in the game in which the Chiefs won. The game earlier this year, Josh Allen gained 55 yards. Now, both on 12 carries.
Yeah.
12 carries on both of them, one of those earlier this year, 55 yards. And then, last year divisional round, he gains 72 on the 12 carries.
That's 50 yards for Josh, 60 yards for James Cook, and a 15 for Ty and Ray Cook. Ray Davis. I don't think that's outlandish. I'm just trying to be realistic of a goal. And I think a goal should be, yes, you want 75 or 80, but I think, again, if you hold the Bills to a 125 rushing or under, I really like the Chiefs' chances of winning.
Yeah, they gave up earlier this year 104. Really, the odd part is the divisional round when they gave up 182 and they won the game.
Yeah.
That's the odd part. They won the game giving up 182. They gave up 104 earlier in the year, and they lost that game by 9. So limiting the rushing game, certainly. James Cook actually was limited. I mean, 9 carries, 20 yards for James Cook. You had the 12 for 55 from Josh Allen. You also had the 26-yarder there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if we look at it and say, all right, 26 yards, I mean, that's what, 78? 78 yards before he carried that on 4th and 2? Can you get to that and be better on 3rd down and red zone? Then you can win the game, because I think the Chiefs, contrary to last week, I think the Chiefs will be better on offense on Sunday than they were against the Texans, because the Bills' defense is bend but don't break.
Yeah.
The Texans' defense was sort of in your face, and if the Bills want to run man-to-man, then the Chiefs will. I think the Chiefs will have some overs, some crossers, some deep shots with Hollywood and Xavier.
Yes.
You got really good route runners against man-to-man. Christian Benford is practicing again today. Looks like he's going to play. He was wearing the soft cap or whatever, but he's in on all the plays. So I think he'll be a full participant probably.
Again, concussion seemingly in the playoffs.
Or it's just fine. I mean, but Taylor Rapp, we'll see what happens with him. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. More Zone next. Catching up with the press conferences there. We'll play some sports or leisure on the other side of the break.
Fact.
Fiction. Maybe. Learned.
Funniest.
And the
best.
Yeah. I didn't even have to, I knew he was going to do it. Yeah. It's like it's like Dylan and I. You know what we do? We finish each other's sandwiches.
Sentence. Oh. Mahomes to Kelsey, telekinetic.
That's exactly what it is. Sometimes we're off.
I run Dylan routes all the time.
Yeah.
We don't know where they're going, but I do.
This time of year, it's mind melding time. We got that ESP. What we got? You can be Hopkins or Worthy or Hollywood if you want to. Be whoever you want. You know what? If you believe you can, Sterling, or you can't, you're right.
back by the time you're 40 if you don't learn to relax.
It's time for sports or leisure on The Zone with Jason Anderson.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Sterling Holmes, Dylan Michaels. Time for a little sports or leisure, 913-381-810-810. That is the phone number to join us to be a part of the show, 913-381-810. Updates out of Buffalo. Christian Benford practicing today. We'll see what his injury designation and status is, but he is practicing in the concussion protocol. He was limited yesterday. The video that I've seen looks like he's just going as if he was part of the practice. So I would guess he'd be a full participant, but can you be a full participant if you haven't passed a concussion protocol? I don't know, but I would expect Christian Benford to be out there on the field on Sunday. Taylor Rapp played 100% of the snaps the first go-around earlier this year. Yet again, not practicing today. So he was carted off. There we go. Carted off with the hip injury, hip/leg. And carted off, and McDermott said he was day-to-day on Monday, and he missed yesterday, missed today. Tomorrow will be a pretty important one to see if he practices, although when we talk about playoff time, last week, Joe Mixon and Robert Woods missed all 3 practices, and then Joe Mixon got hurt in practice on that Tuesday or Wednesday, which was a Thursday, or Tuesday, which was a Wednesday. I don't know. You get the point. He got hurt in practice and then didn't practice the next day and looked fine. So we'll see what Taylor Rapp does.
Safety is day-to-day, you say?
That's never happened around here. Would you be familiar with that?
No.
I mean, if you're going to pummel me, I'll just do the one then, okay? It's day-to-day. But aren't we all? Aren't we all day-to-day, really?
Wow.
$25 to Johnny's Tavern we put on the line. If you get a sports question and a leisure question correct, you shall win $25. Get either of them wrong, you lose. But the question is out there available for someone to call in and request if they know the answer to it. Or they've Googled it. I don't know. You know, it's just whatever happens along the way. So we give out the answer when that happens. We don't give out the answer when there's a wrong answer. If we've run out of time to play or somebody's got it right, that's when you find out the answer to the question. Let's go through the categories, shall we? Shall we?
We shall.
And they can. We have general NFL, and we have Chiefs, Bills postseason. So these are questions that are either specifically about the 13-second game, because that's the most famous one, or the combination of the 3 postseason games they've played so far.
Okay.
So Chiefs, Bills postseason, and general NFL for me. For you, Sterling.
We have potpourri.
All right.
Otherwise known as potpourri.
Oh, okay.
One-hit wonders and riddles. Someone choose a riddle. It's been a while.
It's been a while.
Riddle me why you haven't chose a riddle in a while.
That's right. Riddle me why the Chiefs turn the ball over fewer times in the playoffs than they do in the regular season, while you say that the Chiefs get
they care more.
Fewer penalties in the postseason, the regular season, as your evidence as to why the refs are in their pocket. But doesn't matter. They can't be a more disciplined team in the postseason. It just doesn't matter. It's got to be about the league and the refs and all of the owners across the league agreeing to allow the Chiefs.
Can't be because Patrick Mahomes is better than Brady Quinn.
No, he's not.
Can't be.
He's not.
Can't be.
The dude's name is Brady. I mean, you're at a disadvantage already at that point. All right, 913-381-810. I'm good to go. Sterling, you ready to play?
I am ready.
Dylan, what say you? All right, one of those days. Just one of them days.
Keep your head up, Dylan. Keep your head up.
Got to keep your head up. Ooh, Dylan, things are going to get easier. 913-381-810. We go to Charles leading us off here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Charles, sports or the leisure?
Let's do the leisure. Let's try the one-hit wonders.
All right. I think I've done this one before, but I think it's a great song, and it's fun. Mississippi Queen. Do-do-do-do.
Do you know what I mean?
Do-do-do-do.
That would be by Mountain.
That would be by Mountain.
Here we go. Is that a winner? Did he get it right? Is that the one? Sorry, I was looking to see. I was putting my questions in order.
He's not done a sports
I know,
one
but I
yet.
meant on the leisure side. My bad. I was putting my
Yes,
sports questions
that is
in order.
correct. Mississippi Queen is by mountain.
Great. Okay. On to the sports side. I got my questions in order now. What with the general NFL or the Chiefs and Bills? So which category would you like, sir?
General NFL, that's at the top of your list.
All right. Let's see. Travis Kelce is now 4th all-time in points scored in the postseason. Name 2 of the 3 players in front of him. This is all-time in the postseason points scored.
2 of the 3.
Yep. And quarterbacks don't count for points scored unless they run it in. So it's essentially how many touchdowns you've scored. He's sitting at, he's got what, 20 touchdowns? So he would be at 120? Yeah, he's at 120. 120 points scored for Travis Kelce.
So 2 of the 3 in front of him in postseason only?
Postseason play only with points scored.
Cannot be quarterbacks.
Nope. Points scored is going to be a rushing or receiving. Or, defensive touchdown or a special teams touchdown. But I highly doubt those people would have 20 of them. Or more than 20 to get
Emmett
to.
Smith probably is one of them.
He is one of them. Emmitt Smith is tied for second with 126 points, 1 touchdown in front of Kelce.
Thurman Thomas, maybe?
Thurman Thomas is also up there. So Thurman Thomas is tied with Emmitt Smith. I asked for 2 of the 3 because I thought – that's a winner, by the way. We'll put you on hold, Charles. Well done. Congratulations, sir. I asked for 2 of the 3 because I thought when we've been saying that Kelce needs 2 more touchdowns to catch Jerry Rice would mean that he has fewer touchdowns in the NFL postseason than Jerry Rice. So that's why I thought, well, Jerry Rice might be the easier one.
Sure.
But Jerry Rice with 132, Emmitt Smith and Thurman Thomas tied at 126, Kelce at 120. So if he catches a touchdown this weekend, he is second most all-time in points scored, rushing or receiving, whatever it is, points scored in the postseason. That is a winner for Charles. And we go to Matt next up on Sports Radio 810. Matt, sports or leisure, what side would you like to start with?
Let's go sports with Chiefs Bills.
Chiefs Bills. Okay, let's head to this one here. In the 3 playoff games with the Bills and Chiefs, there have been 2 players that have scored multiple touchdowns total, not just a 2-touchdown game, because there's only been 1 player that's done that twice, and that's been, well, I'm not even going to tell you because then you would know which one of them has multiple touchdowns. But in the 3 playoff games with the Bills and Chiefs, 2 players have multiple touchdowns in those 3 games total. Who are they?
So just multiple touchdowns
Total.
combined in all
Yeah,
3 games?
combined. So you could have 1 touchdown in the first game and 1 touchdown last, divisional round, and that would give you 2, and that would put you with multiple. There's only 2 of them, though. Out of all the touchdowns that have been scored in the 38 points in the AFC Championship game, the 13-second game, and then last year, there's only been 2 players that have more than 1 touchdown in those 3 games combined. I thought it odd, too, but there's a lot
For both teams?
No, just for the Chiefs. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
I don't expect you to get it for the Bills. Yeah.
Gabe Davis would have been a gimme.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah, Gabe Davis. Nice.
Yeah,
Well, he did kind of.
He hit 4 in one.
Yeah, well, I
in
feel like
one
you should
game.
give him half a point for that.
Well, I feel like the only reason I said both of them is because one of them I think is kind of a free space.
Yeah, one kind of is a
with all of the touchdowns.
I'll take the free space with Travis Kelce.
He has 5 of them in the 3
Yeah.
games. 2 different games with multiple touchdowns.
So you have 1.5 of the 2.
That's right. And then this one I would say is a little more difficult.
Yeah, I'm trying to see.
But he has played in all 3, so maybe that helps a little bit.
It should help.
Hmm.
Ooh.
Yeah, does that help you, Sterling? Or does that...
I thought it did.
Okay. Maybe it didn't, though.
Okay, I kind of...
You kind of? Are you kind ofing?
I'm kind of in right now.
Okay, all right. I didn't know if you were kind ofing or not. Maybe you are, maybe you're not.
Because that does help because it narrows it down.
It does narrow it. It's a little
pretty-
narrower.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go with Nicole Hardman.
Yes.
Yeah.
McCole Hardman has 2 touchdowns One of them rushing. He had a rushing touchdown in the 13-second game. So a rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown.
That helped a lot because then you
McCole
really
Hardman.
all you
That's a
had
good hint, though.
well all you had left was basically McCole or Patrick Mahomes.
But
and
out of
Patrick
the-
would have had 2 rushing ones.
Yeah, but out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 touchdowns scored in the 3 games for the Chiefs that they've played. Only 2 players have more than 1.
Crazy.
You know? So it's Hardman and Kelsey. Over to Leisure with Sterling.
We have one-hit wonders. We have riddles and potpourri.
Got to go with riddles.
All right. Yes, let's go.
All right.
Riddles.
Yeah, riddles. Okay.
Yeah.
I got it. I'm going to get it right. I'm so excited. I'm going to get it right.
This is Alex.
You're so stupid, Sterling. I'm going to get it right.
What has a heart
Uh-huh.
that doesn't beat? Dylan got it right away. Nails.
Well
Good
done,
job, Dylan.
D. Huh. Yep.
What has a heart that doesn't beat?
Yeah. Ooh, Dravetta got
I
it.
think it's like some sort of vegetable. Is it an artichoke?
Yeah,
Yes, nice
nice.
job. Right. You can dip
Good
it too.
work. You can
well
eat
done.
it.
You can eat it. You can dip it.
Well,
you
the
know?
Dahmer party could have.
Really?
What? We talked about Donner Party.
back-to-back days.
We talked about it yesterday.
We've
so.
never mentioned the Donner Party in the show ever. This is show 1,282. And
ready for
until,
tomorrow.
Until 1,280, we'd never mentioned the Donner Party. Now we're 2 for 2. So shows without mentioning the Donner Party, still keep it a 0 on the whiteboard there. Matt, we'll put you on hold and get your information. Congratulations, sir.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Look, if you're going to get stranded, Johnny's not a bad place to get stranded at.
Pack a snack pack.
You know, but that's it.
Bring artichoke.
Bring the artichoke hearts. That's right. Or just bring Johnny's with you when you go.
It'd be way
on
smarter.
Why
on
not?
the Oregon Trail, they should have just brought Johnny's.
Why didn't they stop at a Johnny's to eat while they were there? That
That's
just
very silly.
Seems really smart. I don't think it was the Oregon Trail though.
Could have been.
No, I'm pretty sure you weren't going to the Oregon Trail where they got caught. It's probably the,
I don't know, gold or something.
Yeah, maybe that was probably California or the Santa Fe, but not the Oregon. Let's go to Avery next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Avery, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
I feel like 90% of riddles could be written as like, oh, what has hands and a face but no butthole? What has a heart but no butthole? Like, it's all like figures of speech.
When have I ever used that word?
Not yet.
Stop and think. I think
I
if
mean-
you look at your sheet, you could probably rewrite
I was going to say,
Okay, delete that
what
one.
sucks, Avery, is that was his
Delete-
next one. That was going to be his next question.
What sucks?
But obviously, well, obviously, you know the answer, Avery. What is it?
Clock?
It's hands and
What
feet, but no
s-
butthole.
Okay, Avery, what sucks while it cuts?
It certainly does suck.
The suck cut.
The
It
sucking
certainly
cut.
does
Sucking my
suck.
will to live.
Get it off, man. Get it off. It's sucking my will
Sucking
to
my
live.
will to live.
All right, sports or leisure? What side do you want to start with? That wasn't a rough
I'll
question.
do a leisure question, and Sterling can just pick one.
Okay, name every first name of the Donner Party. Go. That was that was his next question in leisure. Go,
Johnny
Avery.
Donner,
Jeffrey.
Donald Donner,
Jeffrey.
Blitzen Donner. Yeah, Jeffrey Donner.
Go ahead,
Jeremy.
yeah, you forgot Jeremy.
All right. You see me once in June,
You forgot Hezekiah, by the way.
twice in November, and not at all in May. What am I?
Start over again.
You see me once in June, twice in November, and not at all in May. What am I?
It's probably a letter, right? But I'm trying to figure out which one it is. There's not that many in June. Once in it's the E, but November, no. Oh, yeah, E.
It is
it's gotta be
E.
E. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. The letter. I'm sort of spelling it out
And
of my
no
mind.
hole.
No butthole.
All right. On to the sports side. We have the
It's a habitual line stepper.
Grits and Gravy, Kansas City, Missouri. Let's go to the sports side. It's Bills and Chiefs or general NFL. What do you say?
I'll do general NFL.
All right. Here we go with this one. There are now only 2 players in the top 10 all-time of games played for the Chiefs in the postseason that aren't currently on the roster. You know, when this run started, there was at Neri, a player essentially. And now 8 of the top 10 in games played in the postseason all time are on this current roster. Who are the two? Or you know what, Avery? I don't want to be a butthole. Just name either.
All right, so McCole Hardman is on the roster?
He is on the roster, yeah. Even though he's on IR, he's on the roster. That counts.
Okay. It's like Dustin Colquitt and Sammy Watkins were like up there. James Winchester is still going at it.
Still going. Still going.
Still going.
Winchesterton, Fieldville.
And then like Dirty Dan probably left at the same time as Tyrann Mathieu. You know what? I'm gonna guess Dirty Dan Sorensen.
Well done. Dan Sorensen has the 6th most all time with 18. Do you want to throw a dart as to who is right behind him with the 7th most? You can guess now if you want to.
Is it Colquitt?
Is it Honey Badger?
It is not.
Is it Dustin Colquitt?
It is not.
Wow.
This one I didn't. I was surprised to see the name too. I didn't realize he played a big role in the Super Bowl last year. Which means he's not on the team anymore.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Nope, not Clyde.
Not
MVS.
Marquez?
No, no, it's not.
Rudy Gay? Wait, not Rudy.
Willie? No, not Willie Gay.
Rudy Gay would be a surprise, yeah.
He wasn't a starter, but he played a big role because he had to step in for a big missing piece.
Andrew
for the
Wiley.
Chiefs.
Nick Allegretti.
Nick Allegretti. Nick Allegretti, the 7th most postseason games played in Chiefs history.
Played is even wilder.
Yes,
I
exactly.
wouldn't
Not
think
just on the
played.
roster for it. Played in.
Roster,
Although
yeah.
there's special team snaps with
That
punts
might have
and
been
kicking,
probably
field
some
goal,
of the-
field goal blocks and stuff. He played in the Super Bowl. Played in. Started in 2 Super Bowls.
I am surprised by Dustin because he would have been there for not long into the Super Bowl, but he was around KC for so long.
Yeah,
you would
they
have
didn't
think.
play many playoff games
Yeah, but they would
until that
make it and play
2019
once
Super Bowl
and
you know?
lose.
And then they moved on to Townsend right after that 2019 Super Bowl.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Avery, you are a winner. We'll put you on hold. Congratulations, sir.
Thanks, guys. What do you think is your best impression on the show? Do you think it's Denny Matthews by Jason, or do you think it's the Jim Rome impersonation that Sterling does?
Ding, ding. At all times?
Yes.
I can't help it.
He should do, you know
Rugula.
what? Sterling should just do the whole show like Jim Rome, and I'll do the whole show like Denny
Phenomenal.
Matthews.
Rack 'em.
It'll be tougher for me because he's just talking, and I'm actually having to do an impression.
Well, all you have to do is just go ding, ding.
Ding, ding. That's right. Thanks, Avery.
You
Right
should
there.
get a Jim Rome
Ding, ding. Johnny's
sounder
Tavern.
up there, Dylan.
Easy to spot, easy to park. It's Johnny's Tavern. 10 locations around KCI or KC.
Not a
and
good
KCI.
call. That's not a good call. No? Okay.
Jerome.
Dear Romy. Dear Rome-noceros.
Dear Rome, I only come out when I help the Chiefs. Signed, flagged by the referees. It's a great email. What a great email. I think, Ryan, let's rack 'em.
I don't practice Santeria. I don't got no crystal ball.
And we'll
That's Sublime with
take
Rome.
a break.
Sublime with Rome? No?
Start a break. And back. After. Lie. I know the lie. The middle one. You've got internet, and the Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. I knew it. Greg, what side do you want to start with? Thank you for that as well. What side do you want to start with, bud?
Let's go with the Chiefs. Go Chiefs.
All right. You want Chiefs and Bills? I've actually come up with a few Chiefs-specific postseason questions overall. So I've got Chiefs and Bills in those matchups, but in the break, I picked up a few more Chiefs.
As long as they're in the I don't have internet category, I love that.
You know what? I think you can. I think you can get these. I think you can get this one specifically. So,
wait, people use the internet on this show?
Nope, not at all.
Good.
Nico Remigio had a kick return of 63 yards. That is the third. Done. There we go. Moving on to. That is the third longest in Chiefs postseason history for a kick return. There are two that are longer. Can you? Let's start with seeing if you can name both of them, and then we'll figure out if you get one and how we're feeling at that point.
These are kickoff returns?
Kickoff returns that are longer than Nico Remigio's 63-yarder.
Wow.
They both stand out for different reasons. Both were incredibly exciting.
Is this back in the day, or is
No. No, this is, let's just say since Marty. Since Marty. Both of them happened since Marty.
Oh, man. I only have one guy in mind, Dante Hall.
Dante Hall is one of them against Indianapolis, the 92-yard touchdown return in the no-punt game. Let's see if we can push it. Let's George and Kramer hold hands and see if we can make it to the next exit on low gas. Let's see if we can you get the other one? Since
George,
Dante Hall.
and Kramer.
Well, that
huh?
was a Seinfeld reference when they decided to see how long they could drive without running out of gas, and then.
Oh, it's not somebody named Jerry.
No.
Okay.
That was just a fun,
Okay.
just to see if we can push it. It's like, all right, let's see if you can get the next one. Since Dante Hall,
Dante Hall.
and it was a significant game that happened for the significant in historical standards of what the Chiefs were going through at the time.
I don't know. I know. I mean, I don't even know if he returned any or not. McCole Hardman.
It wasn't McCole. That's what Dylan said because he's dumb.
Damn.
But it wasn't McCole. But we're going to move you over to Leisure anyway. It was the Houston Texans' Kanile Davis to break the playoff losing streak.
Dylan also said Niall Davis.
Yeah, Niall Davis.
Dylan got one half too. So since Dylan got one half, you got one half. You're moving on.
By the way, they were both opening kickoffs too. That Niall Davis opening kickoff for 101, and
Not in a million years would I got that.
yes. By the way, both against Houston as well. So anyway,
one-hit wonders, riddles or potpourri.
Let me tell you this: the next time the Chiefs, and by the way, McColl's long kickoff was also against Houston. That was in the 2019 divisional round game. So if I'm Houston, next time they play the Chiefs in the playoffs, just kick it straight through the uprights every time. Kick it out the back of the end zone. Go ahead. Sorry, Sterling.
There's
You're
got
up.
to be a potpourri question in there I can answer.
Yeah, I think there is. What is the only edible food that never expires?
Potpourri. Wait. Oh.
Honey.
Yeah, baby.
Whoa, nice job. Well done, Greg.
I'm shocked you called me that, but we'll count it.
Yeah. How about that?
I just learned that yesterday.
No kidding?
Oh, wow, yeah.
That's amazing. That's like Slumdog Millionaire, you know? You don't have to be the smartest. You just have to have the questions that you happen to know the answers to. You know? Well done. Honey.
Wow.
Well done, Greg. Perfect timing.
That was quite an accomplishment.
What a day for Greg.
Love
Because
it.
I usually use the internet.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
But I'll use another name from now on.
Greg, I appreciate it.
Good job, Jim.
Congratulations, brother.
Next time.
Thanks, Gary.
Thank you.
There we go. That's another winner. How about that? Honey, I just learned it yesterday.
Yeah.
Like, what are the odds of that? You know? That's crazy. But yeah, there you go. I just, after looking at just realizing that Nico, McCole, and Niall Davis's kickoff returns are all against the Houston Texans. That's interesting because that's 1, 3, and 4 of the longest kickoff returns in Chiefs postseason history. Number 2 was Dante Hall. That's funny. All right, to the phone lines we go. Next up is Shane playing some sports or leisure. Shane, what side would you like to start with, sir? The sports or the leisure?
Let's go back to the Bills Chiefs.
All right, Bills Chiefs for you. Let's see. We did that one. I think we did that one. Okay, let's go with this one. How much time was on the clock when Butker lined up to kick the field goal in the 13-second game? We know they started the drive with 13 seconds, but how much time was on the clock when they kicked the field goal? So when Kelsey got up and immediately called timeout on the second play.
Got to be single digits. So I've got
It was.
9 chance.
I got it.
Because, great, Sterling. You're not you can't win. You're ineligible to win, Sterling. Okay, you can go to Johnny's and spend all the money you want, but you can't
I
win
do
sports
already.
league. How much time on the clock when Butker lined up to kick the field goal? Because they went down and did it in 13 seconds, but they didn't need all 13 seconds.
I'll just take a guess. Let's say
It's what they're going for this year for a Super Bowl.
Oh, come on.
You like that hint?
Yeah, well, that's what. Well, that was going to be my guess, honestly. Right,
Come
really
on,
was.
Steph.
Awesome.
So 3.
There you go.
Hey,
See?
3 seconds.
Shane got it right. There we go.
What does Dirk Nowitzki hold up after he makes a long jumper?
2 fingers and a thumb.
3.
Oh, okay. 3 seconds on the clock as Butker. So they only actually needed 11 seconds to get. It's a 13-second game, but they only needed 11. So they sort of just messed around with 2 of them.
Yeah.
On to, did he get leisure right? Or
No.
on to
We
leisure.
have potpourri, one-hit wonders, and riddles.
Back to the one-hit wonders, please, Sterling.
All right, one-hit wonders. Do you want classic rock, 90s, or country?
Just throw one at me.
Boom.
Yeah, just throw one at me.
All right, I always love this one.
Taking on all.
This is a fun one. Keep your hands to yourself. I got a little change in my pocket. Go with Jang-a-lang-a-lang.
I got it. That's Georgia Satellites, right?
Yes, it is. Nice.
Well done. Nice job, Shane. We'll put you on hold, get your information. Congratulations. There we go.
Thanks, guys.
Absolutely.
Give me no lines and keep your hands to yourself.
There you go.
Do.
Georgia Satellites.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite bands that I didn't know their names. So let's go to Bob next up on Sports Radio 810. Little sports or leisure, $25 to Johnny's we are giving away. Bob, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
The refs have thrown a flag, so I think I'm going to go with sports.
Well, actually, they just penalized you for doing that. You do have to start with leisure now, and you got to start five questions behind. Sorry about that. This is how it works because you're actually playing the Chiefs. If you were the Chiefs, do you want general or do you want Chiefs and Bills or Chiefs postseason questions? So there's three categories.
Postseason.
Chiefs postseason questions for you. Let's go with this one then. Starts in a postseason game for the Chiefs. Now, that previous question was about the number of games a player played in Chiefs postseason history. Now we're going to go with starts in a postseason career for the Chiefs. There are two players on the Chiefs this year. There are two players that did not play with Patrick Mahomes that are in the top 10 of starts in the postseason in Chiefs history. Two players, top 10, Chiefs postseason starts, did not play with Patrick Mahomes. So before this run, they would have been 1 and 2. Now they're a little bit further down. So name either one of them. Actually, let's just do that. Name either one of them.
That are with the Chiefs now.
Nope. There's two in the top 10 of starts in the postseason all time for the Chiefs that did not ever play with Patrick Mahomes.
Did not ever play.
Yeah,
with
so a
Patrick
lot of
Mahomes.
these guys in the top 10 are now on different teams. Like Tyreek's up there, Sorensen, those guys are up there in starts, but they aren't currently with the team. But they played with Patrick Mahomes. So there are two players that were not on any of the teams that Patrick Mahomes played on in the postseason that are in the top 10 of all time Chiefs postseason starts.
That's a tough one.
So they'd have been tied for first with the most postseason starts before Mahomes got to KC and started winning all these playoff games and AFC Championship games. Either one.
I'm taking a shot here. The first one I'm taking is Anthony Sherman.
Well, he would have played with Patrick Mahomes.
Dude.
Yeah. Let me give you a hint here. Tim Grunhard has had plenty of interactions with both of these guys, whether against or next to. What do you say?
I would have to say Tim Grunhard was right next to.
Or lining up across.
I'm going to say Neil Smith.
Not bad. It's not Neil Smith.
No.
It's not Neil Smith. Bob, thank you for playing, man. I appreciate you, sir. 913-381-0810. Let's sneak in Tim before we go to break. Tim, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
Let's do leisure.
All right, we got one-hit wonders. We have riddles, and we have potpourri.
Let's do one-hit wonders.
Let's go. 70s or 90s?
Ooh.
Yes.
Or early 2000s?
Yes.
What happened to classic rock? I thought
Well, the 70s
You know
one,
what?
it would be considered
Okay,
probably
yeah.
classic rock.
That's what a lot of people
Let's
have
go
said
there.
these days.
I'm that age group.
All right, all right now. All right
Yeah.
now, baby.
I can see it. It's one word. Oh, my God.
It is one word. Yes, you're correct.
Yeah. Oh, gee whiz.
Oh, Dylan got it.
Oh, it's an easy one, too. I mean,
Yeah.
Well, at least you won't have to buy anything at Johnny's if you get these right. Won't have to buy it.
Oh, geez. All right.
Pretty good hint.
Because you know you wouldn't have to buy it. So you can just...
Oh, stuff. Free.
Yeah!
Free.
I'm thinking heat. I don't know why. That must have been that Denny Matthews impersonation.
That's right, bringing the heat. That's right. All right, on to the sports side. We've got that question out there about either of the two players with postseason starts for a Chief in top 10 or fresh ones, Chiefs, Bills, general NFL. What are you thinking?
As much as I want to go with that last question,
Okay.
because I think I know the guy that Tim Grunhard usually was close to,
And
Why don't you do it?
Why
don't you do it? Just go ahead and say what you're thinking.
All right, Trent Green.
Go ahead and it's not him, but go ahead and give it a zot. Give it. Just go ahead and give it a zot. What are you thinking?
I'm committed to this topic.
Yep, absolutely.
the
Yep,
Bills.
just throw a dart. Give it a zot. What do you think?
That was going to be my right guard in my dream team, Dave Zott.
Dave Zott is correct, right? The other one would be Derek Thomas. So Derek, I know he didn't necessarily line up against DT,
I was
but
thinking
going against him in training camp,
Son.
and because Derek Thomas, I believe, well, maybe it was I don't know. There's so many ex-Chiefs that we have on here that talk about their time. But hey, that's a winner for you, Tim. We'll put you on hold. Get your information. Congratulations, sir. Well done.
Thanks a lot.
Absolutely. I don't know if it was Valerio or Tim Grunhard that talked about, Derek Thomas and coming in and immediately sort of helping him out along the way. It might have been Valerio that said DT beat him pretty good and then immediately said, "Come here, Rook. Let's talk about what you need to work on." All right, we'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling. More Zone next. to Johnny's Tavern for Sports or Leisure, the premier sports bar in
We
Kansas City.
gave $25 away to Sports or Leisure for Johnny's Tavern.
That's exactly right.
You got Johnny's Tavern right, you'll get
100%.
$25 to Sports or Leisure.
100%. That's right. 25 chances to get one Johnny's Tavern. All of my questions were answered, so I don't have any questions to go to let people know the answers to them. So there you
Same.
go.
It was a pretty good day on almost
It's a good
everybody
day.
wins.
It was a good day. I didn't use my AK, and Mama made the breakfast with no hog. There was smog. It was a really good day. The Lakers beat the Supersonics too today. You didn't know that, did you?
Okay, Ice Cube.
They've already played. Oh, was that him? I don't know. I just came up with that all on my own. We'll talk with Matt Derrick tomorrow. Should be a fun one to preview Chiefs and Bills. Full show of previewing Chiefs and Bills tomorrow. Of course, you know the NFL. We've got it right here for you on Sports Radio 810 starting Sunday at 8 o'clock in the morning. We will be starting our Chiefs coverage, but, Friday night having some shows as well. Tonight we got a little UMKC action taking on South Dakota State at 7 o'clock right here on Sports Radio 810.
Go Roos.
That's exactly right. We hand it off to the program coming up next. Keep it locked right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.